So today's Gibberpish podcast episode will begin slightly differently because there is a subject we have been rather quiet on, and that is because we have not felt really comfortable pitching into the conversation about the killing of George Floyd and the resulting Black Lives Matter inspired protests and movements around the United States and even here in the UK and basically across the world. Because when it comes down to it, we are just two white boys. And I don't think our opinion should really carry much weight in anything. But when it comes to the lived experience of black communities in America, I really don't think we have anything close to a recognizable or reasonable voice on the subject. And we thought we would start with a brief kind of discussion of that issue before we roll the music, begin the silliness and the nonsense and the non-stop dick jokes to just pay respect, really, to an average Joe, just a normal guy who was killed by a police officer. I don't think there's any other way to say it. I've watched the video, and I cannot see that as anything else other than a killing of a man by a police officer, and the fact that he is black has started a large conversation around race relations between the African American community and the police American community, as it was once put by Jon Stewart. So we wanted to start this off with condolences to the family and friends of George Floyd. He was buried yesterday, actually, on the 9th of June, 2020, and frankly, I don't think he should have been in that grave in the first place. So, Dom?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Someone was killed that shouldn't have been killed. Someone that should still be alive with their friends and family. And I'm not aware if George Floyd has any children. I think he does, because in fact, yes, he does, because there's been so much support thrown at the family. The little girl's been promised a college tuition, and there's been some good that has come out of a situation that should have never happened in the first place. And as Colin said, the reason why we didn't put anything out beforehand is because there's been so many people who quite rightly have owned up to their past misgivings and their past mistakes, saying that this is how I essentially perpetuated the problem, and we just didn't want it to seem like we were yet another white apologist saying, or another couple of white guys putting their apology out there to clear their head. Personally, I think Colin would agree here. We took the time to educate ourselves. We took a step back to really read up on why these riots were happening, why people who should be regarded as equal weren't being regarded as equal. The real arguments at the core of the situation, instead of just reacting immediately without any basis for any argument. Took the time to educate ourselves, read up on the problems at the core of this thing, so that we can be better allies, essentially.
Yeah, because I kind of agree that this incident is not the disease; it's a symptom of a bigger issue within America and within the world at large, really. And it would be wrong of us to just walk in guns blazing, firing from the hip on a really sensitive subject. You've seen how heated it's been online. I guarantee if you've been online at any point in the last couple of weeks, you'll have seen something that probably pissed you off, regardless of where your political leanings are. This has gotten into a major international incident almost. And we wanted to make sure that we get it right. And we're not gonna, but we're gonna try.
Yeah. We're gonna voice our support in the right way. And some people will see us as doing it wrong, but all we can do is try our best.
Yeah, and I think we could just go through some stuff. I mean, we've all seen the video of Officer Chauvin with his knee on the neck of George Floyd. It is heart-wrenching to watch someone die like that. I've seen some weird fucked up shit on the internet, and that probably takes the cake as far as the worst video I may have seen in a long, long time. The thing that probably upset me the most is hearing that he was calling for his mother. You can hear it in the video that he calls out for his mother to help him. And as a guy, as a man, that means something, because it tells you that he is so frightened, so afraid, he is calling out for help from his mother, the maternal figure, and that really shook me to my core. And then I discovered that his mother had been dead for 2 years. And at that point, I was outraged because that is a man calling for help from someone who will never hear him again. And that just deeply upset me when it came to watching the footage. And the more you see it, the more it sinks in. And it probably is the thing that offended me the most, is that was how someone was treating someone else in a way. That is how someone is treating their brother man. Just someone who's basically no different from you, because there but for the grace of God go I. You should treat everyone as you would want to be treated. The idea that you would put someone in a position where they call out for help to a long dead relative is sickening to me. And more and more information surfaces about the case, and it just gets worse, really, in a way.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you said there about it being difficult to watch, I think that is what it needs to be. And that may sound horrible, but all I'm saying on that is these uncomfortable videos are making people wake up to see how it's been happening, how this racial inequality has been proceeding for years. And if more people watch that video, more people realize that this is a problem, and they'll start to do something about it.
And you need to look this ugly, ugly truth in the face and say, this is what the black community in America has been screaming about for years, because this is not an isolated incident.
No.
This is a recurring pattern of behaviour that is totally unique and rare whenever the police talk about it. And yet here we have yet more footage of a man saying he can't breathe as a police officer chokes him out. And it's heartbreaking, really, because it's not a unique thing. I'm a big fan of Run the Jewels, and they released an album this week. Actually, they pushed the release a bit earlier because they had political statements made in the album they wanted to make. Now, what's really messed up is that the album features a track called Walking in the Snow, which features Killer Mike, who mentions he mentions, in reference to Eric Garner, another black man who was choked out by the police, he mentions the line, "I can't breathe." He recorded this months before this incident happened, in reference to another killing of an African American man by the police. And yet, it just so happens there's another case a couple of years later where the exact same thing happens. This is a recurring pattern that people have been ignorant to and are waking up to this idea. And I'm sorry to see that George Floyd died. He didn't deserve that over a fake or counterfeit $20 bill that you used to pay for groceries or gas or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the fact that his death is now sparking a revolutionary mindset in a lot of people is... I don't want to say it's a silver lining on a dark cloud, because it is so much darker than that. But if there is anything to take away from this, it is that people do not agree with the police treatment of civilians, regardless of the colour of skin, but especially in cases where minorities are being affected in a disproportionate way by police actions.
And it's something that, unfortunately, I think is going to escalate more before it gets better. Not due to the fault of the protesters. I think the protesters are doing this in the right way.
Yeah, and I think that's something we maybe need to... Sorry, on you go.
The protesters are doing this in the right way. They're keeping it peaceful. They're choosing not to attack people. They're choosing not to react to any of the horrible shit that's going on around them. But I think that the message that is being sent by the protesters is going to piss off a lot of people who are used to the status quo in America, and that is going to escalate the position even more. And unfortunately, I think this is miles away from being over, and it's something you see on Twitter all over the place, in various different trending sections on Twitter. That this isn't a trend. This isn't something that's going to last a week and disappear. This is something that is going to need continual work to fix, and I think that's what it should be. It should be something that's not All week we signed some petitions, we raised some money, we marched. There we go, job's done. This is something we're going to need to work away at for years and years to come. Little by little, we'll get there. And some years we might advance it. We could advance it leaps and bounds, but it is going to be a slow process that's going to jar a lot of people, but it is a process that needs to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's an important distinction to make between those rioting and those protesting. There are thousands, if not millions, of people protesting peacefully in cities across the world, saying that they disagree with the treatment of African Americans or black people or people of color or minorities in different sections or different areas of the world. And then there are anarchists, there are extremists, there are opportunists. Is actually the next word I actually have written on my notes here. Is that there are opportunists using this as a chance to kickstart whatever they want. If they want to loot and rob, they just want to walk away with a couple of new pairs of shoes and a flat screen TV. They're going to do that because there's a horde of people outside protesting. There's cover in a sense that you don't normally have if you're just if it's a normal day or if you're under quarantine lockdown. There are opportunities that are rising to these protests, and I can't explain how much the looting and rioting annoys the shit out of me, because it is taking away from a very important movement that needs to happen. And as you say, it'll be a painful process, but a necessary one.
And I think the people who are the opportunists and the chancers, as we call them here in Scotland, those are the people that are going to escalate it more. The protesters, I mean, in Glasgow, there was a protest at the Glasgow Green, which was a very peaceful protest. They had people speaking, and it was a very, very communal thing. There was no police present. There was stewards there present, marshals present to make sure that things didn't kick off. From what I've seen, there was very little police presence there. It's when people try and piggyback on things for their own ends, that's when it starts to get violent. And it's going to be those people that escalate this and make it worse for the people who are genuine, or people who have a genuine cause.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing to remember if you're going out to protest, that you are protesting in the name of restricting police violence. I would never assume it'd be a great idea to give a police force an opportunity to conduct more police violence by kicking off at your protest. A protest, in this sense, is a rallying of community support behind a peaceful ideal. And I think that's the tone a lot of these Black Lives Matter moves are making great efforts to show that this is the aim of the protest. It is not to cause violence to the police officers. It is to say we as a community stand together in disagreement with current policies, with current procedures used by police forces across the world to handle civilians in certain cases. And it is so impressive. I, as an outsider, as someone who won't make it to a protest but will maybe show support as much as he can in other ways, I don't believe we're actually making this work the way it is, if that makes sense. I feel like it should have gone a lot worse by now. There are current developments in which we seem to have an issue with slave owner statues. Right now, that's the current talking point, or the talking point of the day, where we don't know if it's protesters, demonstrators, or if it's opportunists are using this as a chance to remove by force statues of controversial historical figures because they were part of the slave trade, slave owners, or profiteers from slavery, which I gotta say, I really find it hard to disagree with that. It's going to get a little nuanced and a little complicated, but it's another issue that will come up in time. But as far as the actual Black Lives Matter protests are progressing, they are doing a fantastic job of keeping peaceful demonstrations of community solidarity as the center of their protest movement, and it's so inspiring in a way that that's why I say this is the silver lining to a horrifically dark cloud.
No, not really. The one thing I was going to say is that the riots and the looting or like the destruction of property, not the riots and the looting. That's just opportunists taking advantage. But the destruction of property, particularly the statues and destruction of certain shop fronts and certain distinct locations, people have come out and said that that's not peaceful protesting. But you've got to imagine the mindset of the protester, particularly say young African American female, young African American male, or be they young African American person, male, female, transgender. They've experienced this, and they've experienced a system that values a building, values a statue over their individual. Would you say to them that you destroying this property that is valued higher than you, that's not the right way to protest? It's something that, fair enough, a lot of people might be uncomfortable with, but could you really say that's the wrong way to do it?
Yeah, it's a very good point, because this all stems from the fact that at one point a police officer made a decision to say that an African American man's life was worth $20 fake. So yeah, while I don't see the looting and the rioting as a good solution, understandable to anyone who gets a bit angry during these coming or past days. I think there's only one last thing to say, and that is that Black Lives Matter.
Yep. If you are in the fortunate enough position to be able to donate, please donate. It is a very worthy cause. Or if you're like myself and maybe a bit strapped for cash, you can go on YouTube, and there's loads of Black Lives Matter videos there that all the ad revenue goes to Black Lives Matter charities. There are also petitions that you could sign, and I urge everyone to sign these petitions, because the more voices that are added to this, the more attention that this rightly gets, and the more change this can actually affect.
So, there is no real way to easily transfer ourselves from this discussion to our main show, but if you stick around after the music, we'll return to our regularly scheduled podcast, and we hope you're all staying safe and well out there, okay?
Welcome to the Gibberfish Podcast.
Well, Dom may not be able to return to his academic studies, but we're here to talk Gibberfish, aren't we, Dom?
Yep, back again. Unable. In fact, I'm finished uni for the year, so I'm pretty good. Just need to go back, hopefully in September.
Well, that's perfect, because it means you've got plenty of time to go to the zoo.
Why would I want to go to the zoo?
Because you can, Dom, because that is that's the new COVID release that came out about an hour ago before we started recording. Boris Johnson has allowed you, in his gracious infinite wisdom, to go to the zoo. But not the reptile house, because that would be dangerous. As part of the easing COVID lockdown, he has said that it is a good idea for Britons to go back outside, to reconnect with nature, and to be able to enjoy activities that might be a bit more stimulating than staring at your fucking wall for the 10th hour in the day. And he is encouraging people to go to safaris, zoos, but not reptile houses and indoor facilities, and the drive-in theatres that Britain is famous for.
Yeah, there's loads of drive-in cinemas in and around the United Kingdom. Plenty of them. We'll find tons of them.
I honestly have never seen one in the UK.
I don't think they exist.
There must be one. There must be one somewhere that he had to point to and say, I meant this one. Obviously, we can all go there.
You people in Scotland, you can come down here.
I couldn't see a clip of this, but apparently he has, in the last couple of months, there's been some stuff going on with the COVID lockdown, and a certain government representative, I don't know if we talked about it in the podcast, but his name is Dominic Cummings, and he basically broke...
Fucker, right? I want to have a go at him, right?
I don't know, let's explain to the foreigners and the people who don't actually spend all day laughing at Tories on Twitter what's going on here. Dominic Cummings is a senior aide to the Prime Minister, or the... Yeah, Prime Minister. I was going to say First Minister. No, Prime Minister. This is England's fault. And he has been part of the kind of task force of people who have been advising the Prime Minister on the best things to do given the COVID situation. And he basically realised he couldn't care for his child because he and his wife had gotten sick at the same time. He then decides to drive 200 miles up England to get to the north of England, out of London, to stay on a farmhouse on his parents' property so that he could have access to other members of the family who might be able to take care of their kid if they were to get more sick. So that was caught, especially that and him taking a driving test in a weird way. He decided to, after not being able to see very well, he decided to test his eyesight by driving 30 minutes to a nearby castle with his child in the back seat when he was not sure if he could drive. So he took his wife and his kid, stuffed them in the car, and drove to a castle, sat there for 15 minutes, and then drove back to the farmyard before returning on, I think this was on like the Saturday, and then on Monday night he returns to London again, another 250 miles drive. And the British public found out, because that's the thing about these guys, is they just don't think they're going to get caught, and then they do, and then they have to give the most pathetic apology I've ever seen on national television. Dom, would you like to say something about that?
Yes, I would like to say something about Dominic Cummings ruining the name Dom for everybody out there. Motherfucker, I don't know how he got away with that. I genuinely don't fucking know how someone does something in breach of the regulations that he helped put in place and still gets away with it with nothing more than a slap on the wrist.
It is highly, I don't want to say offensive, because I feel like that might be the wrong word, but at the same time, it is a perfect example of someone basically making a set of rules for themselves, and then using their position of power to then just to completely ignore those fucking rules that they've set up themselves. And I want to say, when it comes down to why I think he got away with it, it's because the press let him. I really do think that he was given an interview, or he's giving a press statement after giving a quick kind of email to correspondents wanting some kind of some answer to put in the papers. He gave an hour-long speech, or an hour-long discussion, basically panel, that he held in a garden somewhere. I assume it's behind 10 Downing Street, where he laid out his statement, where he explained why he did what he did, which, I'm going to be honest, I don't disagree with in any, like, if he hadn't been a senior member of the government, and he had just been a guy who said, I can't take care of my kid, I think my wife is seriously sick, I need to get us to family so that we can maybe work out some kind of care for my infant child, I would kind of accept that. I'd be perfectly fine with that happening, if he wasn't a fucking hypocrite and someone who would immediately throw someone in jail for doing the same thing.
Yeah, if he wasn't the person that made the regulations in the first place, I think we would have been okay with that. But the fact is, he wrote them, and he said things like there will be serious penalties put in place for anyone who disregards these regulations.
And my issue,
only to then disregard them.
My issue with it was that during that interview, he was asked by multiple members of the press from different organisations, different news teams, who all, by the way, were pre-approved to ask these questions, which is a little shady, that he was asked, don't you realise that you've basically introduced the idea of making your own decisions into the COVID-19 lockdown protocols, that you can, if you feel justified in doing it, if you feel like you can explain yourself away to the public, to a judge, to a policeman that stops you, do you realise that you've opened that floodgate on something that was supposed to be very ironclad and set in stone and followed to the tightest letter of the law? And he responded with, I did what I thought was best for my family. I made exceptions because I had a young child. And I really don't like that he was able to weasel his way out of that, and I don't like that no one in that team of, I think it was like 20 journalists were there, didn't actually say, no, listen, you fucking moron. You have introduced the public to the idea that if you just feel a certain way, you can make decisions about government policy, and if they do not apply to you. And I feel like nobody really held his feet to that fire because he fucked up. And I don't think he owned the right portion of his fuck up, if that makes sense.
I think, yeah, I don't think he never. I don't think he. Yeah, I don't think he owned his fuck up. I don't think that's down to him completely. I think Boris Johnson should have came down heavy on him, but he tried to swing it for the whole. Oh, he's just looking after his family. If that was any other member of Parliament, they'd have been gone.
Yeah,
What is so special about Dominic Cummings?
I am very surprised he's not being fired, but I do. I haven't seen the video of this myself because I'm always very wary to take someone's interpretation of what's being said by a politician right now and just approve it. But apparently, Boris Johnson has said that anyone breaking COVID-19 lockdown protocols would be basically breaking the law. To which everyone should be turning around and saying, "But what about Dominic fucking Cummings?" And really, I know it's been done to death. I know we've heard everything that these people have to say on the issue, but I feel like we might want to run it through again, just to make the message clear that if there's one set of rules for us and one for you guys, what is the fucking point?
Absolutely, there needs to be unity in this thing, and COVID itself is still going to be hanging over us for years to come because of just dumb shit.
Yeah, there will be
Allowances
long-lasting
like this
implications for this, and I wonder what. I mean, we've talked about the protesting before the show about Black Lives Matter and the protesting. I'm very concerned about how the press will take the footage that they have of thousands and thousands of people rallying together to support this cause and then relate it to the uptick of COVID cases that will come in the next couple of weeks. Because yes, gathering a large number of people for a protest will inevitably increase the risk of exposure for those people. But remember, before they start rolling that footage, that we opened up the country a little bit. Just before, like the week or two before George Floyd's death. And I feel like you're going to see a lot of kind of conflation between the Black Lives Matter protests and increase in COVID risk. And
I've already tried to stand with that point. They've already tried to say that because of this, there's going to be an uptick in, or there has been an uptick in COVID-19 cases. But according to the numbers, there's not really been that many. There's been a lowering amount of cases in the UK. I don't know about America.
Scotland had a few nights of no COVID-related deaths over the weekend, but even Nicola Sturgeon was very quick to point out that there are less deaths recorded over the weekend just because of bureaucracy. We'll wait and see. We'll take these numbers with a pinch of salt. And remember, COVID has a 7 to 14 day incubation time within the human body before you start showing any symptoms and before you would then either die or be hospitalised or go into serious treatment. Obviously, there'll be outlier cases where somebody catches it within 3 days, they're on a ventilator, but in a majority of cases, you need to wait a week before you start seeing increased. And I'm hoping that everyone is taking precautions and keeping on top of their kind of personal quarantine when it comes to COVID. I want to make sure people are as safe as possible, and I hope you all out there are taking the necessary precautions regardless of what you're doing, whether you're out protesting, whether you're sheltering in place, whether you're just still working, whether you're an essential worker. I hope you're safe right now because COVID is, I'm predicting a second wave before the end of the month that is going to be fucking terrifying.
The way I see it, there is going to be a second wave. I think we can't avoid that at this point. The protests needed to happen, and those people who have been attending the protests, I have seen with face masks and gloves and regularly using hand sanitizer. I've seen pictures of that happening. What's going to cause the second wave is the fucking morons flocking to beaches in the hundreds and the idiots who are going into McDonald's drive-thrus and causing traffic jams on local Scottish streets and streets down in England. Do you really need a fucking Big Mac that badly?
Bro, I need my nuggies,
not even
bro.
Good.
I need my nuggies, bro.
You can make better chicken nuggets at home.
True.
Fuck. A Big Mac is disgusting. Can we just agree that now? Big Mac sauce is disgusting. What's wrong with you?
Of all the fast food burgers, I prefer Burger King's Chicken Caesar.
Chicken Royale.
Chicken Royale, yeah. Sorry. I don't know why I think Caesar.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, Chicken Royale.
Chicken Royale is delicious.
It is the essential after gig meal in a train station if you need one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really hope that someone rakes every member of the Tory government over the fucking coals because of this. These seemingly double standards regarding whether or not you're breaking the law when you break COVID quarantines. But yeah, I hope that everyone's staying safe with all that's going on right now.
I think the protesters are taking the right stance. That they're guarding against COVID as best they can because they're dealing with a much bigger issue.
Yeah. And remember, kids, if you were to socially distance during a protest, you would technically be covering more ground and locking down more of the city you're trying to protest in. Just gonna say that. If you're all 2 meters apart, I mean, I guess 1,000 people can cover how much space if you're only sticking to streets?
Sorry, I didn't catch that part. I was being beset by a moth.
Moth. I was expecting mutt there, but okay. I'm just saying that if you were to socially distance a protest and everyone's 2 meters apart, consider how much more space you can take up and how much more of a city you can
you'd be
shut
able to
down.
cover more ground. You'd be able to get the message out there more.
Yeah, just the sheer volume of people in the streets. If you're all 2 meters apart, I mean, there was a protest going through Philadelphia, and I'm pretty sure they were quite evenly well spaced out going through the street. And I'm also pretty sure there was also about 1 million people out there.
Yeah.
However, that 1 million people distanced out becomes half of the fucking city.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely would advise social distancing, not just for your own health and safety, but also for political gain. Consider the political gain, kids.
Yeah. It's social distancing. It can also be a good social tool to help you in a protest, which is a weird sentence. Very weird sentence.
I mentioned it earlier in the segment. I wanted to talk about. I know you're not a rap fan, but Run the Jewels did release their new album, RTJ4, and I would highly recommend it. I don't know how you're going to react to it because you're not a rap fan. I don't know how you feel about kind of the general feel of modern music right now, but Run the Jewels, as I've recommended them on the show before, highly, I would say philosophical, cerebral experience. And this album is very short. It's only like a half an hour. So if you're going to not enjoy it, it won't take you long to just give up on it. Or even to just listen all the way through. But there is some powerful fucking music in there. And yeah.
I don't mind Run the Jewels. Their title track, Run the Jewels, that they used for, was that Comedy Central show?
I can't help you on this one. I'm sorry, bro. You're going solo. You're going to have to figure it out.
No, it was the like Comedy Central presents One Night or something like that.
All right.
They had Big J Okerson talk about the time he had there was a massive fight. Joe Rogan talk about the time he was stuck in a hotel with the fire alarm.
Oh, is
Joey
that...
Diaz talks about...
Is that... Because that sounds like stuff from This Is Not Happening.
That's it. This is all happening. Yeah. Run the Jewels was the opening track to that. And that's where I first heard it. I thought, yeah, it's pretty good. I'll listen to this. And yeah, actually quite a big fan of Run the Jewels. I know that one.
Yeah, and the for me it was Oh Mama, which was a thing they did with Rick and Morty. So they had the Rick and Morty animators work on an episode or like a mini music video for them. Fan-fucking-tastic. It's great it's a good track, but also the animation, the actual use of Rick and Morty as characters and something else. I fucking loved it. I know you're not a fan of Rick and Morty either, but yeah, I give it a go. RTJ4 came out, they pushed the release a bit early. I think they came out, 2 weeks before the launch date, and just said, look, we're just going to put it out now because it's relevant, it's topical, and we feel it's important. So they put it out there a little early. So digital release was escalated by 2 weeks, and it's a fucking good album. There's a lot of weird stuff.
It'll be up on Spotify already, so I'll give it a shot there.
Yeah, my brother, we knew it was coming early, but the second it was available on Spotify, he immediately texted me and goes, it's there, get it. And I'm like, I'm half asleep. I'm going to bed. I will deal with this in the morning. You can sit down and leave me alone.
It's one thing that I've actually had to not deal with anymore since I started turning my phone off at night. And you have no idea how great a sleep I've been having. I've been getting 9 hours every day. Fantastic.
That's great,
Just turn off my phone.
We've been talking about this a lot on the podcast, and it's something I actually talked about with Facebook. Was I was so glad to be out of there, and then I think it was last week, or some point last week, I text you saying I've gotten rid of all of the air quotes cosplayers that I have on Instagram, which is code for half naked women. And I said, I wonder how long I'll stay on the app now that I'm not just using it to look at half naked titties. And it lasted, I think I texted you on like Wednesday, and it was gone by Friday night. I think it was.
Yeah, I
just
think I called it that you wouldn't last. You delete it by the end of the week.
I think you said by the end of the day. You're like, you'll go, there's no titties here. Fuck it. Yeah, because I actually found the rip my Instagram text sent you, and that was Thursday. That was Saturday night. I just was in a bad mood, and I was thinking about just all my social media and what I do and what I put out there and what I look at, and I was like, I just don't want it anymore. So with that, I deleted my Instagram. Very kind of spur of the moment decision, but as you said, like as soon as you disengage from that type of media, you feel better, and that's me taking another step away from it. Twitter's still there, definitely still there, and I don't know if you count Reddit as a social media, but I still have that.
No, Reddit has always been this weird social media that I've never used. I dabbled with it a couple times. I used it when I was. I'm in the process of writing a D&D campaign, and I used it a couple times to go and. They have a really, really cool subreddit, DM things or DM something. I used there because they have these really, really cool stat blocks for monsters. Like they have the Tonberry from Final Fantasy VII. They have the Locust from Gears of War. They have them as D&D translated characters.
Oh, that's
so I just go in there and say, "Oh, the Yellow Devil from Mega Man. I'm going to put that in my campaign," and just take it from there. That's about the limit of my interaction with Reddit, because I think it was definitely you that told me of the Reddit story with like the Reddit incest story, and I was like, nope, if that's what's on that website, I don't want to touch it.
I can't even remember what it was, but I have the vague. Oh, I think I do know what it was. Yeah, I remember it was a story of a couple that just kind of fell into an incestuous romantic relationship, and who were just kind of like, yeah, we have a kid together, and we couldn't be happier. I'm her uncle, if anyone asks, and yeah, we just were happy. And you're like, I don't know if I can read this anymore. What? Yeah, I can't. For some reason, I love that site because I use it as news aggregation. There's so much going on. There's so much I like to keep track of. There's so much stuff that I like to open up an app and be surprised in a good way. It rarely happens these days, but I like the idea that I could just push two buttons on my phone and learn something, and I like that idea. But I struggle to find good sources for that, and Reddit has its issues. It's going to start having more issues, I think, now with an election coming up in the United States and all that's going on. But I think that as long as it's well moderated and you find communities that you find interesting and engage with, that's the type of thing I want to get more of. But when it came to Instagram, I was like, I really am just here for the tits, and there's very little reason for me to have that on my phone. I just don't want to be there anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. If you're not using something, because a lot of these apps, when you don't use them for the social media aspect, if you're not posting regularly on them, like with myself and Facebook, I rarely use Facebook. If it wasn't for the fact that I use the Messenger app, and I do still comment on a couple of private pages that I'm on. Like, for example, if the MCM Comic Con page disappeared, I'd probably delete my Facebook. Or if I got kicked off another couple of the private D&D or Pathfinder or video game pages that I'm on, I would delete my Facebook. And Twitter, I post there occasionally if it wasn't for the podcast Twitter, and the fact that I occasionally get messages through my own Twitter, personal Twitter. Again, I would have got rid of it because I'm not actively posting in it, I'm not actively participating in them. And I get that if you're not actively in something, why bother continue to have that take up space?
Yeah. Like, and I say get rid of it. As someone who enjoys photography, I enjoy images. I enjoy like, again, not talking about titties here, but I enjoy visual stimulus. I enjoy seeing a nicely crafted image, something about the proportions, the way everything is displayed, the color, the lighting. I love imagery, but I'm not getting even with a camera and the phone and everything like that, I'm not engaging with this platform in a way I want to. And here's one thing I want to ask you about somebody who still has Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram. Instagram is very pushy. It is very demanding of you to post something. Just throw something up there. Do you not want to post an image? You got so many likes in the last one. You got all this. I'm like, I got 10 likes. Okay, calm the fuck down. Okay, that's not a lot for Instagram by any stretch of the imagination. And
I don't know if I've gotten those messages, but I'm just going to pop open the Instagram app here. The last thing that I uploaded got 23 likes, and it was pictures of me at rugby, one of which I'm putting my elbow into somebody's throat.
Nice. People like
it was a charity.
It was a charity game. Oh, god damn it. What more to do with for some reason, they are very pushy on...
God damn, I look great in this picture. I'm going to shut down Instagram.
For some reason, they are very pushy on the stories part that they've built up recently. And that was all response to Snapchat and TikTok and stuff like that. And they, for some reason, keep wanting me to post on stories. And I very rarely do it. I think I put one image out there a couple months ago. And that was somebody asked me to do like the 3x3 of your top albums. That was the only reason I did it. Other than that, I don't like the format. I don't like the idea that I post something and then 24 hours later it's gone. I don't see the value in that. I want
on Snapchat?
On Instagram stories. Yeah, I keep seeing, being told that so-and-so, this person posted on a story. Don't you want to do that? I'm like, nah, it kind of just sucks, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The reason why I stopped uploading pictures of myself on Instagram is because it always felt so fucking needy. Like, I put myself, the last couple of pictures that I put up of myself at a rugby game, that was just basically me going, yeah, I play rugby. What are you going to do about it? Like, look at me, like me. And I was just like, no, you don't need that. So now if I do post stuff up on Instagram, it's just, look, here's my dog doing nothing. Because, I mean, I looked at my phone. I think there's just something about owning a dog. You just take pictures of him constantly. Like, I was sitting lying playing Switch, and he came in line next to me. I was like, "Oh look, he's doing a cute thing now." Click.
It's not even the owning of a dog. It is the proximity to a dog. You're, oh puppy, and just immediately images. And I'm not here to throw shade at anyone, but there are some people out there. You know who you are. Immediately, the second they are within 100 yards of a dog, out comes the fucking lens. Let's get some glamour shots of this puppy, and you're. It's a fucking dog, mate. I've seen them before.
One thing I fucking hate, I hate those people, but not for the whole like I need to see this dog, right? It's whenever they see a dog, they immediately need to pick him up, right? I have at the time this happened, the story that I'm about to tell you. My dog was 11. This is 2 years ago. Still an old dog, very anxious dog. He likes me, he likes the people in the household.
He's accustomed to your smell. That's about it.
He's accustomed to the family. He's getting better with other people, but at the time, if you picked him up, he would yelp, and immediately you'd have to put him down. I was taking him for a walk out the back of my house, which is a heavily wooded area in Bowness. A lot of people kick about there. A group of girls came over and said, "Oh, can we see your dog?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, he'll no bite. Just watch that you don't sneak up on him because he doesn't see that well." Then immediately they pick him up and they're sitting taking photos of him, and Spud is howling. He is yelping his head off. I was like, can you put my fucking dog down and get the hell away from me? Like, that yelping noise is not him barking because he's happy. That's him saying, yo, dude, help me. These people are going to eat me.
I do not trust these humans. Get them the fuck away from me.
Yeah. Give me back to the beardy one. He will take care of me.
I guess if you had to try and resolve that situation in like 30 seconds or less, my go-to answer would be, he's a shelter dog from an abusive household. Put him down. He is going to bite you. I would just go straight to that.
I ended it with, he's a very anxious dog. That yelping, it's not him excited. He's uncertain. He doesn't know you. You smell different. Put him down. And they just said, oh, it'll be fine. What I actually ended it with was, he has diarrhea. He will shit on you if you keep holding him. And eventually they put him down.
Okay, I was going to go with biting because most people would just say, oh, I'm afraid of violence. You went with shitting.
Oh, dude, this was at the time where he's on better food now, but the sort of wet food with the gravy and dog mixer was just really harsh on his stomach at the time, and it was only sort of last year, sort of mid last year, going towards this year that we got him on the proper food. But at the time, it was just stuff was running through him. It was like I was half joking, half being completely serious. Like, he will shit on you if you don't put him down, and it will not be good.
Oh, yeah, I just to go back to the whole social media thing. Let's take some time to reevaluate what you get out of apps. As much as like, it's easy to say I don't post here a lot, therefore I'm done. Think about what you get out of it, because I was getting nothing out of Instagram anymore.
Yeah, like Instagram, I still use it because as someone who collects Gundam model kits, I like to see what people have done with their model kits, how they've painted it, how they've customized it, and every single time I do it, it makes me feel woefully inadequate. Why do my model kits not look like that? Then I realise it's because I didn't spend £80 on special markers and paints and paintbrushes to paint the fucking things.
You didn't ship the authentic markers from Japan, though. Why do you think it's a failure? Why do you think it's a failure? You used Games Workshop paints? Fuck you.
Actually, quite a lot of people that I know that collect Gundam model kits that I interact with, they say that Games Workshop paints work better. Citadel paints work better.
To be fair, though, if you look at certain painting kits that you get, I used to paint like model planes from World War II. I don't know why. I found kits. I like building them. It was a pain in the ass because it's like the proper kits where everything's like a really detailed. Put in each individual part of like a turbo, like a jet engine, like each individual blade into the fucking thing. There's no need for any of that. But just put every individual blade into the jet engine. You're like, Jesus Christ, who made this kit? Why do they hate people? But I used to collect shit like that. And it's just one of those things where once you get into it, it's very soothing. But then you find the community behind it. And then you find the elite people in that community, and you feel horrific about what you do.
I've spoke to some people because at Comic-Con every year that I've been going, which has been 6 years. Yeah. Well, if I went to Comic-Con this year, it would have been my 6th Comic-Con. I've been going for 6 years to Glasgow. And I always buy Gundam model kits because I just hate money, apparently. I just want to get rid of it. I always buy model kits, 3 or 4 at a time, without fail. And there's always this group of people that come by and go, "Oh, you're buying high grade? Can you not afford master grade or perfect grade?" I'm like, "No, I don't have £200 to spend on a fucking model kit that might break when my niece gets a hold of it."
I think we talked about this as part of our. I think it might be in a showstopper, one of the early shows. We talked about some kid who got into his uncle's like $50,000 Gundam collection, and just went to fucking town.
Yeah. That's why I'll never buy £200 to £300 model kits, because I have a niece that throw things. If I look to my left right now at my PC desk, I have a Vegeta Funko Pop. She lobbed that across the room because I told her that Vegeta could fly. She just fly.
You've told me that story before. It's still fucking funny.
It's one of the many, many, many reasons why my 7-year-old niece, soon to be 8-year-old niece, is the best human being alive.
There's just no fucks given on a level we can't understand.
And that extends to if you know, she's because she does this every so often. She'll say, "Uncle Dom, can we go somewhere?" Like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." But back in the before C-virus times, they say we'll go up to Falkirk or something, or get her toy or something. This her no shit, no fucks given attitude extends to other people outside the family circle, and she will.
Is she that kid who asks why people are fat?
No, she doesn't ask.
She
why.
Just tells them they're fat.
She doesn't say that they're fat, but she will do things that she thinks is funny. She does this thing with me and my brother and her dad, where if she's in a bit of a weird mood, instead of saying thank you, she'll go "good boy" and pat you on the head. So when I took her to McDonald's, we were getting this stuff taken over at the table, and she was in one of those just goofy moods, like utterly just strange young child moods. because she was happy. She was out. She was having fun. Like most of the family were there. Uh, or she was going to get to see the rest of the family when she went home. She was spending time with her Uncle Tom. She was out having fun. They put in the milkshake, the chicken nuggets, and the chips. And I said to Lily, "What did you say to the man?" And without missing a beat, she went, "Good boy." And I was like, "God damn it! I can't say that's bad because I'm laughing my ass off."
At a certain point, like the general stupidity becomes endearing, and you just can't help yourself but smile.
She is just like she's a smart child. Like I've spoke to some of her teachers because I've had to pick her up from school quite a few times actually.
Well, you are Uncle Dom. That is your responsibility.
And I don't mind doing it because that a few times our teacher said make sure she does this homework. And one time I just asked, like, in general, how is Lily at school? And she's a fairly bright student. She does get a bit carried away with her wee random daft half hours, but genuinely a bright student. She does pretty well. I was like, that's good to know. So she's smart. She just has a warped sense of humour.
That is, yeah, it's not the worst place to be in. I mean, there's definitely a lot worse. We all have that one family member. You're like, is everything okay with that kid? Yeah, do we need to do something? Can we help more? Is that what's needed? Do we need more family time, more attention, more love, I guess? A smart ass is not the worst situation to have on your hands.
Yeah. I think she's smart enough to know how things work, but also just enough of a chancer to know how to push them and where to push them to and let them snap back into place. She knows how to bend the rules. Like, she knows exactly what she can get away with when she's with Uncle Tom, but she can't get away with that when she's with Dad or Gramps.
Ah, I see. There's great potential in the young one. We should teach her the ways of evil.
Dude, she's got I've tried to get her to play rugby a few times because she has a mean fend. Like,
You stiff arm people.
yeah, without skipping a beat, she will stiff arm someone. There was someone that was pushing her in nursery. She, not even in primary school. She was in nursery. A little boy was bullying her, and apparently Lily just went, "Get away from me," and stiff armed him, pushed him out of the way. And apparently her teacher said to my brother, her dad, said, "You need to do something about that." And he just said, "Yeah, I need to teach her how to do it properly. I need to forge this into something that can be useful."
So stiff arm is great, but you need forward momentum to change the way it moves. Okay.
You need to shift the momentum from the back foot to the forward foot and carry that momentum forward.
Keep driving. That's the important thing. Keep drive. Push through the body. Okay, you're going your way. They can't stop you. Believe in yourself.
And if the stiff arm doesn't work, take the knees. There's no one that can survive taking their knees.
It's a mechanical advantage you have as a smaller person. I'd fucking love that. I speaking of cheeky people, I played Portal 2 for the first time.
For the first time?
Yeah, I didn't get much of the hype around Portal. And
Portal 2 and Portal, in fact, most Valve games, like Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2, Portal 1 and 2, they're always games that have been about for so long, and I've just assumed that everybody's played them.
Yeah, I mean, I did play Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, played it on the Xbox with brothers and stuff, and it was okay. It was good fun, like couch co-op in the kind of last generation of people that did couch co-op, which is a shame. I really feel that's kind of missing from the current generation of gaming. And then Portal came around, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's a great puzzle platformer." I was like, I just don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. I want to play Gears of War. I want to chainsaw people in half with a gun. That seemed more fun to me. And Portal just kind of got shifted to the side. And then I played Portal 1 on a shitty laptop, and sincerely regret that, because it's a good game. I just didn't have anything better to run it on at the time, and didn't go out and buy. I should have just bought a 360 copy of it. Now I think about it, I'm like, I made that game worse on purpose. So I have it still on my Steam library, so I might go back and play it now.
You can get Portal 1 on...
I already have it. I bought it on Steam with the shitty laptop, but it still carried over on my Steam profile because somehow I still have the same Steam profile from like 10 years ago.
Oh, right.
I have no idea how, because everyone over 5 years has forgotten the password. So yeah, I played Portal 2 for the first time because I bought it with the pack of Portal 1 as well, because it was bundled together at some point. and I just played it through. And if you want to talk about cheeky, the robots in that game are just pushing it. I honestly was kind of annoyed at some points. I was like, they're trying too hard to be funny in a way. And as much as I love Stephen Merchant, it's just I'm kind of annoyed at this point. If that makes sense. Like, I'm just kind of fed up of listening to them try to be funny in a very telling way. But it's an interesting game. It was a very good challenge. It made me feel stupid quite a lot of the time. Like, I'm going to just own that. I was just not paying attention or just not thinking about rooms and challenges the way I should have been to make the game actually work properly. But I've got myself quite annoyed at certain points, and then just got... I would quite often go in, start a level, get to a point I couldn't play anymore, leave the game, come back a half an hour later, and then jump into the level back just to retry it and get it first time. That was a recurring pattern.
It's actually, I've played Portal 2. I never played the first one, but I played Portal 2, never finished it. It's one of those games that I always keep saying to myself, I'll get back to this. Yeah. I'll get back to it someday. There's always something else that got in the way.
I'm trying to think of if you played it, you enjoyed the core mechanics. Did you get to the introduction of the gels? Yeah. Where you have the bounce gel and the speed gel. And the concrete. There was a couple rooms that once you start introducing that, I'm like, I don't know how to combine certain things, but you figure it out eventually. Especially with like I want to call it the tractor beam, where you can open a portal and have the tractor beam go through various different like the portals and stuff like that, and it affects different things. I was kind of enjoying some of that, but you have to... A lot of the time you'll be undone by something you forgot to think about 10 minutes ago, and you have to go back, reset the room, and do it again from scratch. But you'll get it within 30 seconds once you know where to put the certain objects.
Yeah. See, I found I had the same thing with the dungeons in Zelda Breath of the Wild. I spent ages scratching my head trying to figure out how the fuck did I do this. Then I would leave it for a day and come back and be, oh, there it is. Like 5 seconds into the dungeon. Boom, done.
Yeah. It's one thing. You missed one thing in your process of evaluating the room or solving the dungeon. For me, at one point, I forgot to look down. I never considered down as an option, and there was a thing right there. I was like, oh, once I put that there and put this in different places, I'm done. And I put a portal in the right place, and I'm done in 30 seconds. And it's like, fuck, I feel like such an idiot for getting this, for getting it wrong by doing everything else other than the one solution, which I guess I like it for that. But the actual, like, the monologues and stuff, I turned it off eventually. I just started listening to, like, podcasts and live streams and stuff like that.
Which is weird, because I heard that I've always seen that as being one of the better parts of it, is its dialogue and its humour. I personally, the bit that I played of Portal 2 found Stephen Merchant to be quite funny. And same with Ellen McLean GLaDOS. Like, some of the shit that she says to Chell, which is funny as hell.
I enjoyed Portal 1, and I actually was okay with it, but I feel like they got Stephen Merchant in, and we're like, oh, now we have the big name actor, because Stephen Merchant at the time was doing pretty well for himself. I think this would have just been after The Office wrapped, which I'd say is maybe the height of his... I mean, yeah, he's done other roles, and we'll get back to that in a second, but I think this might be considered the height of his geek power. And they just said, oh, we've got him. We have the chosen one. Let's use him to the best of his talents. And he's a very talented man. But I just was like, you guys wrote way too many jokes for this. And kind of bored, you know. I'm bored of listening to people try to be funny without actually... There's something different about like a stand-up performance to someone just trying to be funny, if that makes sense.
It's kind of the problem when they get in the comedic actor. They tend to write maybe one too many jokes so they can put... Because Stephen Merchant, he could say normal things that regular people would say in conversation. And he could say that and would get people laughing. They tend to start writing things in such a way where they overcompensate with every other character and try to make them just as funny as Wheatley. Yeah,
his delivery is impeccable in some of his stuff. And I will say I enjoyed the final boss fight for Wheatley more than I did for GLaDOS. I found it wasn't a massive challenge. Like, once you figure out the mechanic of the fight, you're like, oh, I could do this easy. But actually figuring it out is a lot of fun, and it's quite intuitive. Like, you can figure it out quite easily with what you've got. So I was a big fan of that. But speaking of Stephen Merchant and him playing funny characters, we forgot about this last week. You actually brought it up, or last episode. You talked about wanting to discuss Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, absolutely.
And I distracted the entire fucking conversation, and I yanked it fucking 90 degrees to something else, and we just ignored you finally watching one of my favourite movies. And it wasn't until I sent you the picture of my copy of Jojo Rabbit that I realised that we'd forgotten it in the last episode. So I gotta ask, what was your opinion of Jojo Rabbit?
I thought it was pretty damn good. It was funny at the right moments. Taika Waititi again hits it out of the park when making a comedy movie. But I had kind of not random. I had a lot of really, really good sort of heartfelt moments. There was moments that where Jojo and one of the other characters, Jojo and his mother, were having these, quite heartwarming conversations. It was something that I didn't expect from a film about a child whose imaginary friend is Hitler. And I think the strongest point of the movie is its characters. Sam Rockwell's character, the blind in one eye, almost Lord Flashheart type Nazi.
Yeah.
Who's just now stuck to training, and then due to another fuck up gets stuck doing desk work. And Scarlett Johansson's character, who is, trying to help her son. And this is a weird sentence. Trying to help her son be the best Nazi he can be, but also at the same time is working for, trying to be an ally to the Allies, and some of the other supporting cast, like Rebel Wilson. What the fuck did she bring to that film?
I had questions about that as soon as I left that movie. Like, when she shows up, I'm like, okay, she's being a bit awkward, she's being a bit weird. I guess this is just her way of doing things. I don't watch many of her films because she appears in movies I don't like the look of. There's a lot of musical stuff in her background, and I'm like, not really my thing. And then when I left that, I was like, that entire movie could exist without Rebel Wilson, and I wouldn't care less about it. And I just felt bad for feeling that way about Rebel Wilson because she's just somebody who was doing a job.
I will offer a dissenting opinion. Without Rebel Wilson in that movie, you miss out on one of the best dark lines you'll have in a film, where the clones walk up to her, she sticks a grenade in her back pocket and says, "See the Americans? Go and hug them." Every clone.
That line is great, but I also enjoy the line at the start where they're talking about the boys are going to go out and they're going to go wrestle, they're going to fight, they're going to go shoot guns, they're going to throw grenades, and women will learn housework. That's the Nazi training regime for women, is learn how to be impregnated and learn how to do housework. Like, Jesus Christ.
So what she said, something like, learn the best chances to sire an Aryan child.
Yes. Something really horrific about the fact that women were just used for breeding at that point. You're like, okay, that was a little darker than I expected, but I guess this is a movie about the Nazis, so oops. That one's kind of on me.
Well, my personal favourite character was Jojo's friend, the kid with the glasses and
the
the
little
black
fat
hair.
kid, yeah.
He manages to keep his German accent going through most of it, but he slips into New Zealand quite a bit.
Yeah. He's very obviously, like, I think of, obviously, like, Taika being from New Zealand has worked with a lot of New Zealand talent, and he worked with the kid in Hunt for the Wilder People, is the same kid is the one in Deadpool 2. And I was, oh shit, it's the kid from that. Like, I put those two together. And he obviously loves casting like New Zealand talent. And I wonder if the little fat kid from Jojo Rabbit is related to the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People, because they look kind of similar. I don't know if they just happen to look similar, or if it's like a weird coincidence, or if they're actually related. But if that's the little brother, I'd find that even funnier, just because of the casting.
Because I know that I don't think his last name is Dennison. The kid from Deadpool and Hunt for the Wilder People, his last name was Julian Dennison, or his full name was Julian Dennison.
I'll look into that. It's probably not true, but I find them looking very similar. I was like, if that's his little brother, this makes this 10 times funnier.
It's the fact that even though he's in a war and his uniform is essentially cardboard, he's still happy. He's having a great time.
It's them walking down the street as robots. I'm the trash man. I'm here for your metals. It's that, and at the end, there's the end scene I found really weird, because it makes you kind of sad that all these characters are gonna die. They are basically consigning, like, regardless of if they die in the battle, if they die in the Russian executions that follow afterwards, they are all dead. Everyone in the story that isn't an innocent is going to die, and most of the innocents were dead already because Nazi regime. And I think it's probably
where Jojo and the Jewish girl just start dancing, because I thought that was funny as hell.
so. What do we do now? The war's over. Street dance. But I like the scene of during the final battle where like Jojo and the little kid, the fat kid, remember, or they just have a friend moment in the middle of all hell breaking loose around them. Like there's buildings burning in the background, like automatic rifle shots going over their shoulders, and like, oh hey Jojo, how's it going? You know, like, oh that's adorable. That'd be a tragic moment to look back on as an older man and go, we just high fived each other in the middle of a fucking war zone.
Yeah, there's buildings getting blown up around you.
It's been a while since it came out. I think we can talk spoilers.
Yes, I suppose we can. Yeah.
How did you feel about the butterfly scene?
The butterfly scene.
Jojo is putting up posters in the town, and he is distracted by a butterfly that he follows around, and then the camera turns to reveal his mother's shoes as she is hanging from the gallows.
From a pure cinematography stance, I thought, holy shit, that is a good shot. It's a really nice, powerful shot, but in a thematic sense, that's fucked up. That's a very fucked up scene.
That hit me in the heart, not even in the chest, just straight through the solar plexus, straight into the fucking heart of like, oh, that was not where. It's a very good misdirection of. I thought it'd be like just used as a framing thing of like, oh, Jojo is so distracted by the nature's beauty, he doesn't notice his town going to shit around him, and it's like, oh no, wait, this is how they reveal that his mother has died and has been caught as a spy. And I say, fantastic direction, cinematography, the way it looks, the kids' acting is amazing. There's so few good children actors, and I recently saw clips of Full House, and it's like the kid acting in that is horrific. It might be one of the worst examples of child acting I've ever seen. But you compare it to the kid from, like, you compare it to Jojo's performance as an actor, like, that should be beyond you. You should not be capable of that moment of sitting there in the cobbled street looking at your mother.
Yeah. Just talking about the kid that played Jojo, him and the kid with the glasses and the black hair, they reminded me of a very, very young Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They had that kind of dynamic about them.
Yeah, they do.
They're going to do some pretty good shit in the future. They're going to do some really funny movies.
How are they doing it? I think I've seen a few interviews after this came out, and that kid seems to be okay. I think he seems to be quite sharp and with it. Like, he's not... There's sometimes you see kid actors and you're just like, you're not okay. There's something wrong here. He seems quite with it, and I like him.
I can see him doing good things. I think, without a doubt, whatever Taika Waititi does next, that kid's going to be in it. If he's in the new Star Wars film as a space New Zealander, I'm fine with that. That'd be awesome. We already had a killer robot that was voiced by a Kiwi in Mandalorian, so more space Kiwis.
And we also, just Taika's influence now in Disney as part of the MCU is growing, and I'm happy about that. I'm really happy about that. And yeah, Captain, I've got the IMDb page up here. Sam Rockwell played Captain Klesendorf. Klesendorf? How do you feel about his final scene?
I thought it was pretty good. It was you could always tell that his loyalty was always to the Nazi regime at the time, but you could tell he was looking out for Jojo.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good send off for the character that was ultimately just trying to look out for him. Like, he was willing to take that ultimate step to make sure that Jojo was safe, I suppose.
Yeah. I also have a look, actually, I'll get the IMDb page up. The kid's name for the kid who played Yorkie is Archie Yates, so he's probably not related to the kid from I Hunt for the Wilder People, but worth a shot. Yeah, and Roman Griffiths Davis.
Jojo was he's British. He's English.
Yeah, Roman Griffiths Davis.
Yeah, that's a very English name.
Yeah, he's three of them, all of them very English.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really love this film and I'd highly recommend it. I really hope you haven't, hope you've not seen the movie, or if you hope you've seen the movie before we spoiled it for you. Whoops, probably should have thought of that before we started talking spoilers, but oh well, we'll see.
If we spoiled the film for you, you know how World War II ends. So, not really too big a surprise to spoil a film that's about Hitler.
Yeah.
In a sense, but yeah, I still recommend that you go and see it. It's probably one of the better films that you'll see from end of last year, start of this year. Definitely go and see it. It's worth a pickup. And to be honest, it's lockdown. You need something to do.
What else are you gonna do? I also grabbed that. I mean, I talked about I sent you a shot of like 5 or 4 movies that I bought at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being Jojo Rabbit, one of them being Knives Out that I've already seen.
Yeah, we spoke about that podcast before. It's on my Amazon wish list.
It's actually available on Amazon TV if that's your streaming platform of choice. It's not that expensive. I just wanted the DVD or the Blu-ray because there is apparently 130 minutes of making of, and I am fascinated to find out how they made this movie. I've seen some clips and some videos and stuff they've done with essentially the way that most films are promoted now is you have the actors go out into the TV side of things, but directors and technical side of people go out and do YouTube videos. And they'll go get interviewed by like GQ and stuff like that, and they'll have these breakdowns with talking about different scenes and stuff that have appeared in trailers, so they don't really spoil anything. But even before a movie has come out, you can see part of how it was made, which I found really interesting. But the Knives Out DVD Blu-ray has arrived, as along with 1917, which also features behind the scenes, which I'm fascinated to learn because apparently it is supposed to look all like it's one long shot. And I'm like, interesting. How the fuck did you pull this off? And
the
Parasite.
2 films you showed that I was actually really interested in was Knives Out and 1917. There's another one that I think you'll probably want to expand a bit on, but I've heard 1917 had people in tears, full blown just.
My gran went to see it, and she doesn't like action films. She is a very, she's just not into that type of thing. She said this was a fantastic movie. Just as, like, and she's not one to easily praise a story, but she said that, like, the basic themes are very simple, but the way it's told and the punishment that the characters go through, you feel for them the entire way through. I was like, that's an interesting review from you. We don't really talk much about films. She'll occasionally get me going. She'll just ask me about a film that I've seen recently, and all of a sudden I have like a 30-minute monologue about camera work and direction and lighting and acting, and I'd just be going on and on and on about random crap from movies. And but it was weird to see her come back with the same intensity about a film, so that's what got me really interested about it. And I've got Parasite as well, which I've lined up because when somebody wins an Oscar and it's a foreign language film, I'm like, interesting. What did you do? What magic did you bottle to make you give what made them give you that Oscar?
I've heard it's a really, really good film, but very uncomfortable at times.
I heard, I was listening to a Rooster Teeth podcast where Gus Sorolla said he's watched it maybe 30 times. And I'm like, oh shit. It takes effort for me to watch something twice. I normally just sit down and watch something once and that's me done with it. I think like some of the big exceptions to that are literally Deadpool. That might be the biggest film I've watched twice. And after that, it's all just like weird niche horror stuff. So that something gets 30 playthroughs from someone who I really admire for their taste in cinema. That's interesting. Although weird to see that it's listed as comedy, drama, and thriller. That was not what I had it pegged as.
So, from what I've heard, people were just saying it's a horror film. The way it handles itself is a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
So to see it being characterised as a comedy, nah, something ain't right here.
And after reading the description, I'm not feeling it, and seeing the poster, it's going to be a damn good knock-knock joke. That's all I'm saying. Although actually, speaking of Parasite, there is on Netflix a new, I say new show, but it's Parasite. I've just fucking forgotten the name of it. It is the Parasite adaptation for anime. The manga is regarded as one of the best of all time, which is
Was
very
that Parasite with a Y?
I'm looking at a website to explain what the name of this is, and the initial name is it's Parasite with a Y, Parasite the Maxim.
Yeah.
And I watched episode 1 of that today, and I am very interested to see how it goes because I like it. Mostly
I remember, this is going way back in the day. I think I might have been 10 or 11. I was in a charity shop with my parents in Stirling, or maybe Stirling or Grangemouth, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But I was rooting through the pile of comics that they had, and I found a single issue Gundam comic, which I don't know where the fuck this guy got this from, but at the back of it was Parasite adverts for the Parasite the Maxim adverts, and it just looked weird as hell because it was the person's head splitting open, at the eye line, and just teeth and more eyes and like weird tentacles and shit popping out of there.
Yeah, I'm watching the anime for this. I have no background on the manga itself, but basically, parasites have landed from space and are taking over human bodies. They're taking them over, and they can transform the body into whatever they want. The first episode actually features the guy realizing he has one of these parasites digging into his hand. He uses his earphones, like his cable earphones, as a tourniquet, cuts off circulation to his arm, which means that the parasite only exists in his hand. And that's where the main character gets his look from, is that he has the entire weird, like, face-shifting bug in his hand, where everyone else, like, he's the parasite in his hand and also still himself, whereas most of these bugs try to land in the ear, burrow in, and then take over the entirety of the body by shutting down the human brain. The first episode features them meeting another parasite that has latched itself onto a dog, and the dog tries to kill him. I went, oh shit. And it's a very interesting show so far, mostly because in the English dub, the parasite is voiced by the girl who voiced Wendy Marvel in Fairy Tail. So I'm used to seeing her as an adorable little girl to be protected and treasured at all costs. And here she is as a monster parasite that shifts a hand into like a 5-finger talon of absolute monstrous murder. So it's a weird switch for her. It's not what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always performances like that.
Yeah.
I was used to. I mean, what I'm watching right now is probably of no surprise to anybody that Dom is watching something Batman related, but I'm currently watching Batman the animated series, which, as many people know, has Kevin Conroy voicing the Batman. I'm used to hearing Kevin Conroy voice the Batman, but I watched a TV show on Adult Swim called The Venture Brothers, where Kevin Conroy voices a character called Captain Rainbow or Captain Sunshine, who's just the depressed superhero that cries whenever people ask him to do things.
That's so fucked up.
Breakdown whenever anyone asks him to do the slightest thing. It was weird but funny as hell.
And
so the character switch can be funny if they do it right.
If I can give a little quick recommendation for Parasite, it was animated by Studio Madhouse, who are responsible for Death Note, the first season of One Punch Man, and what else can I point to? High School of the Dead, Overlord. Yeah, these guys have pedigree. Oh, also Black Lagoon and Hellsing Ultimate. These guys make some stunning visual anime. That's part of the reason I'm really looking forward to it, was I saw the Madhouse logo during the trailer that's on Netflix. I was like, here we fucking go, boys. We're watching all of this. So Parasite the Maxim, I'll probably be discussing that at some point in the next episode, because there's only 24 episodes, so I could probably burn through that pretty quickly, given the time off and the quarantine and the fact there's nothing really else to do than watch random crap on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said You started off with Death Note. I thought you're not trying to sell me in this place just by saying Death Note, because I didn't like that show. I thought Death Note was quite bad.
Really? Oh, interesting.
Did not like Death Note. One Punch Man season 1 was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, not a fan of Death Note whatsoever. I don't like anime. I don't like anything with the bad guys the main focus, because what's his name? Light Yagami is the bad guy. He kills 200,000.
Is he though? Is he though?
He's meant to be the bad guy. Or he's doing bad things for good purpose. Fuck him, pretentious asshole.
Yeah, he's a little bit up his own asshole. I'll be frank with that one.
Take that potato crisp that you're going to eat and shut up your nose.
The line "I'll take a potato chip and eat it" belongs in history. It is fucking tastic.
Nah, fuck it.
My brother and I yell that at each other occasionally. If we're ever up at my mum's and we open a pack of chips, we're like, "I'll take a potato chip and eat it." And we just yell at each other across the room, and no one else watches anime, so no one has a clue what we're talking about, and we have to go and explain it all. We're like, "Look, it's a show." I've actually seen, I can't remember if it was Mother's Basement. I think he did a breakdown of why that scene is actually really good. And I walked away from that video going, he has a very good point. But still, that meme is hilarious.
I think I actually caught Mother's Basement, one of his videos on YouTube a while ago, talking about, I think it might be an Evangelion. I didn't watch much of it, but I thought, this guy knows what he's talking about, but I don't have the time to spend, I think it was 25 minutes listening about Evangelion.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, but the way that a lot of anime YouTubers look at things, you have to dive all the way through the history and all the way through what it means, where the manga intended it to go, how the anime interpreted it, and how there's just a weird process that seems to have built up from. I mean, I'd much rather, if I was doing it, I'd do like 5 or 6 minute videos on certain things, but it shifted at some point to longer form video essays, kind of away from like video essays to video dissertations. So I find it kind of hard to keep up with all of them, especially the ones, like there's a lot of people who are really worth listening to when it comes to anime, and I'd say Mother's Basement is one of them, but it's just a lot to keep up with.
I think at this point it's just, I've actually been thinking about this quite a lot, because I bought a few Gundam related Blu-rays. I bought Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, the Gundam Wing movie on Blu-ray. I bought Gundam Thunderbolt, December Sky, because I've been wanting to get into that show. But then I found out that the movies have been compiled, or the TV series has been compiled into 2 compilation movies. First part I have, December Sky, the second part's either out now or coming out soon. And I bought Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust and a couple other things, like Berserk, the animated series, Berserk the
Golden Arc
90s series, and Cowboy Bebop and that sort of thing. And I realised that it's not that I don't like anime. I think I just don't like any new anime because it doesn't really grab me in the way that old shit does. Because you watch Cowboy Bebop, there's something about that just makes you want to watch more. Modern anime, I just don't think does that.
I think that in itself, like the Cowboy Bebop show is of an impeccable quality that I don't think has been matched in a long while. There are some good shows. For example, I'm really excited about Attack on Titan Season 4. I can't wait to see how this whole show looks once we finish it. I think it'll be different from how we started, but I think it's going to be up there with the greats. I think that Cowboy Bebop itself is just on a whole other level. Like, it belongs in a category that goes beyond its medium in a way. Like, this belongs in the great history of art in a weird way. I don't know why I feel that way. I watch it and I feel a certain way about that show. Which is why I don't know if you heard about the live action adaptation.
Yeah, I'm optimistic for it, but only because I know who's doing it. I think the creator of Cowboy Bebop, Watanabe, he's involved.
Yeah.
He had something to do with the casting, and John Cho is Spike Spiegel. I think he can do it. I think he'll do a good job. He just needs to get both the skill of Spike Spiegel, and how he flies, shoots, and fights.
Yeah,
but he also needs to get that kind of dry wit as well.
Yeah, Spike Spiegel is definitely a very competent individual, and that needs to come across. But he seems very laid back and calm and zen, but at the same time, he is a trained professional. I think that needs to be brought across properly. That's why the instant go-to is, get Keanu Reeves. It's like, can't really rely on him for everything.
Keanu Reeves can't do anything. And speaking of Keanu Reeves, I'm very glad that you brought him
I was going to just quickly just say, Faye Valentine, they've confirmed that she will not be wearing that exact outfit for the live-action version, which is understandable because you're basically naked.
Yeah, that's understandable. You can't really complain about that.
You can't say, yeah, we're all for Me Too, but also at the same time, hey, can you wear like this lingerie set for, I don't know, 16 weeks while we film a TV show?
You gotta imagine it'd be uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, it's all I don't want to say spandex or leather, but it looks that type of material. Like, it looks like PVC.
Yeah, it doesn't look comfortable. It looks like the kind of stuff that squeaks when you run.
Yeah. But Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I know you're not a big Bill and Ted fan, but did you watch Bill and Ted back in the day?
No, I don't think so. I'm
Oh,
trying to
fuck.
remember what I watched. There was something. I think I watched something else. What's the one with the devil?
Devil?
Yeah, somebody summons the devil. I think it was something else. I can't for the life of me remember. It's definitely not Bill and Ted, because Bill and Ted's time travel. I watched something with the devil, so I'll find out what that was.
I think that might be Tenacious D,
No,
Pick of Destiny.
it's something else. I'll
So I know in Bill and Ted 2 they go to hell.
Bill and Ted 2. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Does the devil appear in a park at some point?
The devil appear in a park.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
Little Nicky? Are you thinking of Little Nicky?
I'm thinking of Little Nicky, yeah.
Yeah, a common mistake to make, I guess. But,
I'm going to get so much shit for this.
Probably, yeah.
Send all your shit, yes, Little Nicky. Send all your shit to Iron Lord, Iron Lord the Mad on Twitter. Feel free.
Holy. I just got something that we need to talk about. Something just showed up on my Twitter that we fucking need to talk about.
Let's go through
fucking
Bill and
absolute-
Ted's news for the first thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the
So,
Bill and Ted trailer released.
It's the typical, these people, like high school students, not interested in high school, but they want to rock. So, Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan, played by Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves respectively, they have this band Wild Stallions, and they just want to make it big. There's the Battle of the Bands that they need to get to, but they've got a history report. This is the first movie I'm talking about. They've got a history report to do, and they're not going to do it because they want to get good for Battle of the Bands. George Carlin plays a character called Rufus, who comes back, or comes forward, or comes to the past to tell them, you need to do this report, because if you don't do the report, you don't go to the Battle of the Bands, you don't win the Battle of the Bands, and you don't become the saviors of the new universe. So George Carlin takes them back in time. They find historical figures: Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, Abraham Lincoln, Billy the Kid, and Socrates, and they present them as they help them do their history report, essentially. And some of the shit they get, it's just typical, 90s movie. Mayhem ensues. Genghis Khan puts on American football gear, steals a skateboard, starts beating up things with a steel baseball bat. Mozart shows up. No, sorry, Beethoven shows up, and he starts playing a shit ton of different keyboards in the middle of a shopping centre in America. It's just dumb fun with a very young Keanu Reeves. I urge people to watch them, because I can't imagine the Blu-rays would be very expensive. Pick them up and watch them.
I think, given the announcement of a third movie, it's going to get a little bit more expensive than it was before.
Oh yeah, probably. But the trailer for the third movie, I've watched it a couple times, and I'm hopeful, cautiously hopeful, but hopeful nonetheless. I'm looking forward to this movie. I think they do it in such a way that it works.
If it's a passion project, I have faith in it. If it's just a cash grab, I can't see Keanu Reeves. I almost said I can't see John Wick making a cash grab, but I can't see Keanu Reeves making a cash grab.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say is that obviously they are a lot older than they used to be. It is quite obvious
I think
that they're not as.
There's a chance to make that movie work on the context of these guys are older now. Have they got their act together, or do they still think the band deserves one more try?
I think at this point they keep getting told that your music will save. The whole premise of the next one is they keep getting told that your music will save the world, but they need to write this one song that the universe. So they're going, well, let's not keep going. Let's just not wait for inspiration strike. Let's go forward in time, and find us who have already written this world-saving song.
Interesting.
But
okay, yeah,
it's going to be weird having a Bill and Ted film without George Carlin, but they could probably get some other old comedian to step in.
How would
Get Lewis Black in there? That'd be fucking hilarious.
How weird is it going to be when it's I mean, Lewis Black would be amazing. I know we're like, we got the future. Who's going to save the universe? It's a very, very angry Lewis Black who has been doing coke for 3 days straight. But I was going to say, I was going to say Rogan. There's no way he's involved, but
I mean, it could work, but I doubt Joe Rogan would do it.
Yeah,
no offense.
No, he doesn't want to be
Joe
involved
Rogan,
in the Hollywood cycle anymore. So,
all right, I was going to say no offense to Joe Rogan, but I can't see him being a great actor.
Nah, he's admitted that he just wants out of all that. He says too much
I don't blame him. Seeing that shit just looks awful.
Although I did go back and watch a bunch of Dave Chappelle skits, and including Tyrone Biggums meets Joe Rogan. So Tyrone Biggums, the crack-dealing homeless guy that Dave Chappelle played for a couple of years, goes on Fear Factor, and just it's fucking hilarious. Honestly, there's a bunch of Chappelle sketches that I've been rewatching because we never actually saw the show here in the UK. I don't know if you saw any of it. I didn't.
Chappelle show was on Comedy Central for a little bit. I caught a few episodes.
I could never find it. I heard about it too late. It wasn't on circulation at the time, so I never really sat down and watched. I'm definitely gonna get it sorted. But I saw, was it the all the skits with the Wu-Tang Clan, where he actually gets members of the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm like, shit, yeah. That's some influence right there. That's some power there to bring out those guys. But the racial draft was the funniest thing I've seen in ages. Because it's got Bill Burr in it, a very young Bill Burr.
Oh, an extremely young Bill Burr.
And was it the Player Haters Ball, where it's got Patrice O'Neill? Holy shit. Like, the fact that sketch is 5 minutes long. The bloopers are 11 minutes. The bloopers that they're showing you are 11 minutes as like a DVD extra. Can you imagine the riot on set? That must have been like 6 hours of just people busting balls.
Just cracking the hell up.
But you said there was something we needed to talk about.
Well, something that's probably not going to be important to you, but it's something that just popped up on my Twitter. And it was literally the very first game I ever played. A game called Alex Kidd is getting a DX version.
Alex...
Basically,
spell
Alex Kidd.
Spell Kidd for me. Kidd?
Kidd, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX has just been announced. And I'm not going to lie. It's genuinely the first game I ever played, because everyone else was on the Mega Drive. Older brother was playing Sonic. I had the Master System. I don't think we had many games for the Master System, but if you closed the Master System over and pushed the power button, Alex Kidd would play. And I think I must have played the first level of that game about 100 times because it was fucking solid.
See, I was on the Mega Drive as well. I've never heard of this.
Oh, it wasn't even on Mega Drive. It was on Master System.
Oh. Right.
This was before the Mega Drive.
This looks really weird. It looks like, I'm looking at it now on Google, it kind of looks like Proto Mario in a weird way. Like that weird kind of... I think
it came out... When did it come out? Hold on, I've got 1986. I don't know when Mario came out, but I think it was well before 1986.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Original Mario is a time trip. Like, it is something else. Mario, do the Mario... He appears in 1981, I think. Main appearances, 1981.
Yeah. Probably kickstarted the whole
I'm
platformer
thing.
I
was going to say guessing puzzle platformer or just platformer.
Alex Kidd, it's just a platformer.
Yeah. I've been looking to someone like streaming like Sega classic stuff. Like the really old stuff that we don't really remember that well. And I'm considering grabbing a couple of titles because I talked to you about Streets of Rage and how that just could never be my game, just because it was something that's just it's beyond. Like, I'm okay with first-person shooters. I'm not the best gamer on the planet, not even close. But
such a weak mindset, though, Colin. You need to be the best gamer.
I am, bro. I wake up in the morning, I game. But the like stuff like Streets of Rage and stuff, I missed a lot of that because we had like 4 games in the house. One of them was Sonic, and I was never good at it. The other one was the Terminator game that came out for the Sega Mega Drive, which was awesome. But
Terminator versus RoboCop?
No, just Terminator. There was a Terminator video game, and I only saw my dad beat it. That's the furthest anyone got. As my dad almost beat it. He died on the last boss, and then he restarted it. This is like, guys, we're gonna stay up past bedtime. because Dad's going to beat Terminator. I'm like, here we fucking go, gamers. I just went for it. It was fucking amazing. It's genuinely well-cherished childhood memory is my dad saying, guys, you're going to stay up late. I'm going to beat Terminator. Fuck this. And what was the other one? I think, no, that was a PS1 game. I was thinking about like the old FIFA games, like way back at the start, when it's like, oh, you've got this player who looks identical to every other player. Because the pixel count was
So he just
5.
got a different number on his back.
You couldn't see the number on the back. It was just, dude.
Yeah.
It looked like a foosball table.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I've never played this game. I'm very, very intrigued. But that's getting a re-release. What's the platform it's going to be on? I think well guess it's the Switch.
I'm going to hazard a guess and say it'll be Switch. It's going to be probably PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is a stupid name. But it's going to be a good console.
Yeah.
Call it the Xbox 2. Why the Xbox Series X? You're going to have a Wii U problem with that, I guarantee it. People are just going to assume it's another Xbox One redo and just not buy it. I guarantee it. But yeah, it'll probably be on everything. PC, Steam. Fuck it might even come out in a fridge.
Yeah, games kind of get like that now. But I've just actually looking at the like release news from I've got VentureBeat here as the news source. Interesting artwork, kind of like the look of it. It's a lot. It looks like it belongs as the next generation of it. But yeah, based on the fact they're talking about it in the same breath as Streets of Rage 4, I'm saying Switch exclusive as it's a Sega title. Maybe come to PC at some point.
If you'd have told a very young Dom Anderson, like single-digit age Dom Anderson, that in 2020, Alex Kidd's going to get a cool HD remake, Streets of Rage 4 is going to happen, you're going to get to play a Spider-Man game that doesn't feel awful and you have to use cheats to finish. If you'd told him that I do that, I probably would have just passed out in front of you. Like, young Dom wouldn't be able to take that. That's too much. But
I think you'd hear that and say, but that's too far away.
freeze me now.
I think about there's a South Park episode where Cartman freezes himself to try and wait for I think it may be the Nintendo
Wii.
Yes, the Wii. He wants the Wii to come out, so he freezes himself and instead goes like 3,000 years in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd do it. I'd do it. Even though at the age of 5, I think Streets of Rage 3 might have just come out. So I had enough to do then. But dude, HD Streets of Rage 4. In fact, the concept of HD would have knocked me unconscious back in the day.
I wonder what that's going to be like when we can go back and watch remastered black and white movies and we have some understanding of what it's like. There's now a generation of kids who have never seen anything less than HD footage. I want to take kids like that and say, this is a 144p YouTube video. This is standard definition. This is terrestrial television where there's 3 channels. Because we're just in the last dying days of that.
I've seen I've seen my niece. She's reacted to when she's using her tablet and the Wi-Fi gets a bit spotty and they drop the signal to try and make you play the rest of the video. They drop the quality so you can watch the rest of the video. She kind of says it's broken. You need to fix it. It's just 360p. That's how we used to watch television back in the day. If I put on the PlayStation, your eyes would burn.
I'd love to see the output you get if you take like I mean, for some reason, like the really old stuff, like 8-bit stuff, scales okay to like a large 4K television. But I'd love to try and take something like a PS1 shooter game, or the one I always think of is Ridge Racer, which was a racing game back in the PS1, and we used to play the hell at this. But I know it was bad. It was bad back then. But I'd love to take that and put that on a 4K television and just see what happens. Just see how it all bends out.
I don't have a 4K TV, but I do have a pretty high. I've got a decent high def TV.
Even just a large television, like there were large 1080p HD TVs.
Yeah, I have a pretty decent sized TV. I've been playing. So at the start of this year, I started playing Dino Crisis, which is a PlayStation 1 game using my PlayStation 2, and it's playable. I'll play it, but it's stretched out. It looks grainy as all hell. If anyone knows how to make or knows the cables that I need to use to set up my PlayStation 2, my GameCube, my Wii in HD, tell me.
I honestly
want to
don't
play
think
these games,
the
but
output
not in that quality.
I don't think they output the right size of file you're looking for. I honestly don't think they're capable of putting out anything more than 720p. And I don't know how you would get that and have it interpreted and then produced at a higher a higher rate, if that makes sense. Like I think
Even 720p would be fine. 720p would be fine. If I could play OG Resident Evil 2 in 720p, go with that.
yeah, I mean
Because it's
there's
sitting at about 140 right now.
I mean, let's just talk about this. Our our boy Argic has made a fantastic leap in his Twitch streaming and become a partner. And hats off to him. He's done some very hard work over the last couple of months. Very proud to see how far he's come. But if we're talking about somebody who plays low res games, the man is still playing Sonic, the original Sonic the Hedgehog, in 2020, and just like I'm amazed at that's what it means. Like that game is so old, its style makes it hold up better than I'd say a quote unquote realistic game from the PlayStation 1 era would, and it's an older game than that.
Yeah, I've always wondered. I always ask him what is his setup, and he tells me every time. But because he tells me the price every time, I focus too much on that. Like, I asked him how's he able to put his N64, his GameCube, and his Wii, and his PlayStation 2. How is he able to put that all on HD? And it always starts off with, oh, it cost me about 300, 400 quid, but it's so worth it. And I just get caught up in that, and then he tells me about the rest of it, and I just kind of go,
I'm still gagging on the fact you said 300 quid for conversion and stuff.
I was just hoping for maybe like an 80 quid thing that I could plug in here and there, and all of a sudden HD, but no.
No, it's...
You mean I have to spend money on this shit? Fuck off.
It's, for when it comes to like the old school stuff, it's a lot of the time it's, we have a guy who remembers working on the original version of it back in the 80s. He knows how to solder on stuff that makes it output at a slightly better resolution. It's not going to be perfect, and there's a chance it might burn your machine out, but he promised he'll test it before he sends it back to you. Pay him 200 quid through PayPal, and he'll mail it to you once it's done. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like the most jailbroken version shit. I'm like, this is bad.
That seems bad.
I'd rather pay for the like 300 quid worth of weird cables and modifiers and attachments that eventually leads to a HDMI signal so I can plug it into a capture card.
Or what would be the better option if just Capcom did me a kindness and made a remake of Dino Crisis 1 and 2, so that I wouldn't have to spend exorbitant amounts of money trying to get my PlayStation 2 output in HD, where I could just spend 50 quid, 40 quid getting those HD games.
Like
people are asking for it. Capcom, just give us Dino Crisis 1 and 2 HD.
At a certain point, you can probably just make the argument for it appearing on Steam as a real... Like, I bought a bunch of stuff for Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3 because it was 79 pence a game through the Sega Mega Drive collection, which appears on Steam. Like, it doesn't even have to be the HD remaster. You can just re-release those games in a viable format for streaming and let the streamers be your advertisement.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the Sega Mega Drive collection, that is actually probably one of the best deals you'll get in games today, because the amount of games that you get that play in HD, fucking outstanding. Like Gunstar Heroes, one of my favourite games for the Mega Drive era, playing that in HD is fucking awesome.
And I will say, if you buy the Sega Mega Drive collection through Steam, the lobby of that, I didn't expect them to put so much effort into the lobby of a virtual console, which I was very surprised. It shows up, like you open up the program, and it becomes a virtual bedroom of a 90s kid. And each poster is a different game, or different cassettes, every video and stuff like that on the walls is a different game. And I was like, there's love and attention brought to this that I'm not the biggest Sega fan, but this would make me feel so happy about what I've just bought.
Yeah. I did like that every time you buy a new game, you get an extra case in your little bookcase thing.
Yeah.
You get an extra game case.
It's a very nice touch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And the fact that the game itself is only £20.
Yeah. We talked about, just because we mentioned Twitch, it's probably worth talking about the fact that Twitch is starting to implement DMCAs for copyrighted music.
Yeah, that's...
It has devastated some of the community, because it is not just... Like, there's the idea that you can do your Twitch stream, you can have it recorded and saved on the Twitch servers as a view-on-demand video, VODs, and then Also, you can have community members live clip parts of the stream, so that if something funny happens, you can hit clip that, and you get like a 60-second window that you can trim down to however long you want it to be, and you can then store that as a saved video file. And this is part of the community, it's part of the function, the service that's provided by Twitch, and now they have algorithms and basically robots going through and looking for any copyrighted music and automatically flagging that for like people who, I guess, like companies, corporations, and license owners that have filed all the correct paperwork with Twitch to do DMCA takedowns, and it has really rattled some cages. I'm a follower of some like Twitch content producers who are shitting themselves, for lack of a better term. And I was talking about this with the guys at Badger and Pals, and we've been talking about like how they should prepare themselves. And I mentioned the fact that Harris Heller, who is a massive guiding voice in the Twitch community, has said he is now muting gameplay music, like stuff that's on in the background, just in case. I was talking to Ross about this from Badger and Pals. He was saying that they don't get a lot of DMCAs for music videos or for music in the background of games that's actually with the game. Although they do get a lot from Star Wars related content, because obviously John Williams and Lucasfilm have very protective like lawyers for their companies, and he's been saying they've been hit multiple times with copyright takedowns for videos and streams and stuff like that, or VODs. And I said, look, just the best advice is to mute all your music that's playing in videos if you're live streaming it or if you're trying to create content out of it, because it's just not worth it.
It's definitely going to be hard medicine for some streamers, because any stream that I go on will have copyrighted music playing in the background. Most of the fighting game streams will have music from other fighting games. Even Argic plays licensed music. He plays other video game music during down segments, or if he's changing games or something, or if he's doing just chatting, he'll put music on in the background. So it's going to be a massive wake up for a lot of streamers. Like they're going to have to look at maybe just eliminating music altogether, or getting what the hell's the word? Royalty-free music.
Yeah, there is actually, funnily enough, Harris Heller is a one-man band on this one. He, like a couple months ago, created a project called Stream Beats, where he went out to a lo-fi kind of hip-hop producer and said, I want about 180 chill-out 2-minute tracks to share. They'll be released on like Spotify, YouTube, whatever, and we'll get the ad revenue from the playlist. We'll get the money from YouTube, from Spotify per play. However, it's all going to be license-free music. So if you're into the lo-fi beats type of thing, which I am, I love it. It's just a very nice chill thing to have on the background. I think Harris's track list is at 210 tracks. So that's enough for a multiple hour stream just constantly going in the background. And it's not bad. Like I've not listened to all of it yet, but based on what I've heard so far, which is the first 50 tracks maybe, it's pretty good stuff. So if you're looking for a solution, if you're like, oh my god, we might get completely shafted on copyright here, there are alternatives, and people will be working around this for the next couple months, and just find licensed or license-free music that you can guarantee will not get you shafted in the long run. So yeah, it's just something I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, because most people reacting to this news, it's like, guys, I just got 3 channel strikes on my Twitch community. I'm in danger of losing everything I've spent years working on. What do I do? Like, stop, first of all. That'd be my first guess. And after that, I guess we just kind of go from it. We're just going to improvise, you know?
It's definitely going to be a tough workaround for quite a lot of streamers, but I think they'll get there. I think a lot of people are working on solutions and crafty ways around this. But it does make streaming a game difficult, because is that going to get copyright struck as well if they're hearing that game music in the background?
Yeah, that's why everybody I've talked to about this, I've said, play it safe, take off the music. The video game play itself is transformative, so you don't have to worry about a DMCA from that. And most gaming companies have the understanding that a streamer is transformative. Like, we don't need to take this to the courts. And most people know that it's safe to stream the video gameplay. The music, on the other hand, it's kind of difficult to say. So, I mean, be safe out there.
I'm quite glad that you brought up streaming and stream games and things like that, because I'm going to use it in a very, very bad segue into talking about one of the most streamed games of 2020, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I finished that, I think, after our last podcast episode went out. I finished I think I finished it around 45 hours, maybe 51 hours.
That's not
the
bad.
gameplay. It's pretty good, considering as much as I've played of the original, I got out of Midgar, which is where Remake is set, within 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
All right then.
So they definitely stretched this part out, and having this be my way into Final Fantasy, I thought it was pretty good. My problems with the game kind of lay with the villain and the end boss. Whereas in the original Final Fantasy, what I've been told is the Sephiroth is a slow build. They just he appears in a couple of flashbacks. Cloud doesn't actually fight him, or you don't actually get to find out more about Sephiroth until what would be the second part of the game, Disc 2. But in this one, Cloud is constantly being plagued by Sephiroth. He's he's always there, he's always interacting with Cloud and, making him hallucinate and see things.
He's an omnipotent, omnipresent antagonist. Yeah.
Which would have been cool if he was even slightly imposing. The Sephiroth that I've seen through playing Kingdom Hearts, he was voiced by a different voice actor. So I think they wanted to go with a different voice cast for this game, or it was something to do with voice acting unions. They wanted it to be non-union or something like that.
A weird choice.
I don't actually. Maybe they just wanted to recast with a different cast. I don't really know, but they changed his voice, and I think Tyler Hoechlin does a good job of voicing Sephiroth, but the previous voice actor, George Newbern, who was also Superman in Justice League, does a way better job, in my opinion. Because, fair enough, Tyler Hoechlin does still play Superman, which is a weird connection between the two. Both voice actors for Sephiroth have played Superman, either animated
weird.
or live action.
Yeah, that is really weird.
But George Newbern kind of gave Sephiroth this gravitas and this sort of weight. But Tyler Hoechlin just kind of seemed like he was there. Cloud had to listen to him because he couldn't listen to anything else. So there was nothing forcing him to lock eyes on Sephiroth. There was no gravity to him. It was weird. It kind of took away from this whole Sephiroth is meant to be an opposing villain, because back in the day, people would talk about Sephiroth. Back in secondary school, even primary school, when some of my friends were talking about Final Fantasy VII, they would talk about Sephiroth as being, on par with Darth Vader in terms of cool villains.
Yeah, he has a legacy as one of the great villains, as one of the biggest antagonists of all time, really. When it comes to video games, especially, he's just on the Mount Rushmore, really.
Yeah, pretty much. But if you'd have told me that based on Final Fantasy VII Remake, he's an imposing villain, I would have disagreed with you. He's definitely a villain, because he basically out and out says through the game that he's going to remake the universe, and he wants Cloud to either get with him or get out of the way. And his motive annoys me. He thinks he's the superior being and wants to remake the world by blowing it up.
That's not different from that is pretty much his. It's the cliff notes of his motivation, I think, in the original game.
Yeah. I'm talking about in general. I don't like Sephiroth's motivation. It's kind of he is something that in the. I've played a bit of the original on Switch. Brother bought it a while ago. There's moments where Sephiroth is just reading all these books. He finally has that kind of snap moment where he realizes that he's not, or basically everything that he's been told is not the truth, and he's been lied to. So he starts doing all this research and reading that. He finds out where he came from and the whole legacy behind where he comes from, and he basically just kind of snaps, saying that this is where I come from. I'm the superior being. I will remake the world in my image. But then you find out that what he was told about being lied to was also a lie. Then it just kind of gets weirder and weirder, as JRPG plots do.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, who thought it got weird? But yeah, also Final Fantasy VII Remake was a fucking great game. The combat was fun. The amount of micromanagement you have to do between characters gets a bit daunting at first, but when you get it down pat, you're like, oh crap, this is actually pretty fun. Managing different characters.
Yeah, if the management system is well implemented, it can make that part of the game maybe not fun, but not a chore. And then it lets you experiment more with the combat, makes you experience the game in a new way.
Yeah, and it's definitely, because one thing that I was very bored with playing a little bit of the original was just how slow the combat felt. In this one, in Remake, combat goes as quick as you want it to, which means it could either go past very quickly if you just mash the hell out of shit with Cloud, or you can play the game a bit slower by switching characters and, you know, trying to get different status effects and using different magics by switching to Tifa or Barret or Aerith. It can get pretty involved, actually.
And it's good that the game has that depth. I mean, there was a lot of worries that this would just be a very shallow remake. But if they've got, maybe not the same system, but if they've got something that you can latch onto and just delve into and not quite micromanage, but something you can study and game and play with and get a better experience out of it.
Oh, without a doubt. One of the best parts of the game is the what the hell is it? It's the materia system. Using different materia combinations between your 4 different characters. Obviously, you can only have 3 characters out at a time, so it's kind of a toss-up. Obviously, you're going to keep Cloud in because he's the main character. You're going to keep Tifa in because she's the strongest character in the game. It's a toss-up between whether you want magic range or physical range with Barret and Aerith. Because both are equally good at magic, both have good ranged abilities. And having different materia setups on each one of them just basically means that you're playing a whole different style of game with each character that you play.
Materia is like a system of buffs, right? Like it's different add-ons that you give to your guns to different effects. And yeah, okay.
There's 3 different types of materia. There's magic materia, there's status materia, there's blue materia that gives you status effects. Like that'll up your XP and money and shit like that. You'll get yellow materia, which can give you things like prayer, which gives you healing abilities. Gives you an ability called chakra, which allows you to heal yourself and get rid of poison. You'll get purple materia, which is, you know, HP up, HP up, XP up, that kind of shit. Then you'll get your magic materia, which is your green materia. And if you equip them all in a certain order, even the magic materia, if you equip, just say cure, that can give you a boost to your magic, but it can also downgrade your defense. So there's a trade-off. Just say if you want to go all magic on one person with a couple of buffs, they're probably going to have great magic stats, great magic attack stats, but they're probably going to have piss poor defense. Okay. So it's all about trading off and getting the right setups on each character and maximize how they're going to play within the game.
That's interesting. It's good that the system is there for people to experience and just kind of tinker with to get the most out of the characters.
And there's enough in the game that you get enough time to go through the game, playing, experiencing the story and all its side quests. But the length of the game also allows you to experiment with these things, because there's Coliseum fights where you go through rounds of fights, and there's like I said, there's side quests there, and they allow you to go and fight stronger versions of enemies, so you can test out newer builds on them. And it allows you. The game itself basically encourages you to play it however the hell you want it. If you want to have Cloud, essentially, be a magic user and have your main damage come from Tifa, you can do that. If you want to have Barret be your main healer and maybe not attack too much, you can do that. It allows you complete autonomy over your characters.
It's a good indication of a well-designed game that you can have that much freedom with it.
They definitely designed it to let you. They definitely designed it to let you play it in as many different ways as possible, and there was a lot of attention put into the game, as there should have been, because it was in fucking development for about 10 years.
Yeah. Although I did
hear... shows because they spent a lot of time on this game.
I did hear a criticism from John of Let's Fight a Boss, where he was talking about when he played the game, he was quite annoyed about the fact that the side quests were just the use of a previously existing boss. If he was looking for more of a world-building experience with those side quests, rather than just, okay, here's a repeat of a mission and let you run through it with a different setup so you can experiment and play with the toys that you've got.
Some of them are No, I wouldn't always say the boss fights. There are some side quests that you can do where you can fight other bosses or older bosses, but more often than not, once you fight a boss, it's just cool. You fought that thing. You might come across it later, but next thing you're going to fight is this thing. Like, it doesn't really allow you to go back and fight other shit again. You fight a lot of different versions of of similar enemies, but it doesn't really let you fight boss fights again, unless you do Colosseums
All right.
in VR simulations. But the one criticism of the game, apart from Sephiroth, that I have is that it's very linear. There's a lot of corridors and a lot of just, you start here, walk forward again, do a mission, walk forward. But it is the game itself does look good enough that you don't really notice the corridors unless you're actively, you know, unless you're actively aware that you're going through a linear game, which doesn't make sense now that I say it aloud. But
no, you can catch that in some games. I mean, that's a lot of people really praised the original BioShock when it came out. Oh, it's so interesting that you were being played all along by the voices over the tannoy system. You know, that you were being manipulated, and I'm like, okay, yeah, kind of, but at the same time, this is a linear shooter. Like, this is a corridor, maybe not a shooter game, but it's like a puzzle shooter action game. There's only one real way through the game. I can't run around the outside. I can't swim back to the surface. I have to go through Rapture. I have to go through this game the way the game intends me to. And all of the manipulation that's being foreshadowed, now that, like, once you get to the end, you realise that there have been foreshadowing scenes leading all the way up to the end. All of that was a scripted narrative point in a linear story, even though it seemed like there was the illusion of freedom.
And I think the most annoying part of how linear the game is that you go through sectors 5, 6, and 7 in the game. There's still 4 other sectors within Midgard that you can go through. You've got all this. The game's 40 hours. Why not have us go to each different individual sector and do some shit within them? Instead, you've kind of just took the story as it was in the original and spread it, in some cases quite thinly, over 40 hours and over 3 different locations.
Well,
why not expand it? Do more.
Am I right in saying this isn't the entirety of Final Fantasy VII?
No. This is quite literally disc 1.
Of disc how many?
I think they're doing 3 episodes of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, if we're basing it on how long the first part took, could be a 120-hour game.
I think the first disc, it's the shortest part in the original, so I think it's going to be the shortest part in the remake. I think episode 2 is going to be 80 hours plus. I think there's going to be a lot to do in that game. There's going to be a shit ton to do in disc 3.
I was going to oh man, they'll stretch it to 150 hours. You're willing to say 120 hours by the time you finished disc 2, with the 40 hours from the first one and 80. Alright then, you guys have fun with that.
I'm willing to say that by the time you get to disc 3, that disc 3 is going to be about 100 odd hours. There's going to be a fuck ton to do in that game.
Jesus Christ.
Between super bosses, end game content, between all the preparations that you're going to have to do to fight the final boss. I think all in all you're looking at a 200 and odd hour RPG. Because they just keep adding shit to it.
So just out of gaming news, we were to talk about the fact that the Gibberpish podcast is definitely cursed. We've noticed over the last couple of months that every time we finish an episode, new things come up in the kind of the Twitter feed that would definitely be great talking points for the podcast. And in the past, this has been releases of new albums, new information, new movies and stuff, or just news in general about those type of things that we enjoy within about 24 hours of a new episode going up. And then today, Dom tells me through a text message that the curse has grown stronger somehow, because we now know in advance that we will be late in talking about something as it comes out. And that is a Sony kind of live, I don't know what they call it really. I know you called Nintendo's version the Treehouse.
Yeah, Nintendo have their version of the Treehouse live from E3, which is, obviously they'll have the demos of games and shit live at E3, but they'll do their event from Nintendo headquarters of Nintendo America.
So it saves them basically buying flights to LA for 20, 30 staff members.
Yeah. I think it's just a case of they don't need to go to E3 and have this big stage show. They can just do more at Nintendo in-house and show more from Nintendo in-house, and they need to send billions of people over, or couple hundred people over to E3 to show what they could just show in-house for a lot cheaper. So Sony, in an attempt to copy absolutely everything that Nintendo do, have done their own version of a Treehouse Live. Or, in fact, yeah, they copied them already. They copied the Nintendo Directs with the Sony State of Plays, which were just not good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't hate Sony. I actively have supported Sony since the PlayStation 1, despite the fact that I got it quite late. But they always just seem to be copying whatever Nintendo do. Like, the console wars, in my mind, were never between Microsoft and Sony. They were between Sony and Nintendo. And Microsoft were just, prodding Sony in the back going, oi, pay attention to us. We're your real rival. Where Sony were just like, oh, they released Breath of the Wild. We should copy that. We should do that.
Yeah, Nintendo is a trendsetter in a weird way, where they just have a great idea that everyone thinks they can capitalize on without realizing that there's a certain branding and style that Nintendo have that makes things like that just work, and it's more personable, as opposed to Microsoft, which is the gaming front of a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
And so the response to, or the response from E3 for COVID-19 was obviously they were going to shut down, and rightly so, but to kind of alleviate that so that these companies can still show what they intended to show at these conferences, they've done the IGN Summer of Gaming, which is going to show throughout the whole month of June what's left of it. Over, hold on, calendar's loading. I think it's 3 weeks. Yeah, over 3 weeks they're going to show what was going to be shown at E3. And Sony are the first to start off. Sony are going to be showing their conference tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I'll probably tweet what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, what was cool, what grabbed me. Because right now, there's not enough going on about either Sony or Microsoft that's going to make me want to buy the console right now. Because Sony haven't shown anything about the console. They've shown the controller. They've shown the specs. That's it. Microsoft have shown the specs, the console, and the controller, but no games, except Godfall. That's
Didn't even know
all
what
that's
that
been shown
was.
for both of them.
Yeah, this is one thing that we noticed with Sony and Nintendo's version of the console war. It is all about specs and hardware, all of which get laughed at the room by PC gaming immediately. And I think that they have vastly overestimated how important the specs are, because this lesson that we learn every time there's a new console cycle is the person who wins, in air quotes, is the person with the best group of games. And unsurprisingly, it seems to be Nintendo has that down almost every year, and it comes down to which one of the either Sony or Microsoft wants to get more creative and which one wants to push the boundaries a little bit more. But every generation they forget that and have to relearn it over the course of a 10-year console cycle.
It's weird that gaming companies have to learn lessons like that. That games sell consoles, not specs sell consoles.
So in the inevitable event that we have somehow, or that we've missed the Sony conference, we're going to try and make a prediction each. And we're going to try and guesstimate, because I haven't looked at any of this. I was told about this like 20 minutes before we start recording. I was like, I'll put down a joke as what I think will happen, what will be revealed at the new console showcase. And I do want to say that I agree with you. That new game does look kind of like Dark Souls, and that I look forward to watching it being live streamed for a few times and then forgetting to pick it up before being distracted by something else. So, Dom, what's your prediction? I'm just predicting a vaguely Dark Souls-like game.
Are you talking about for the conference in general, or any games?
Anything you'd like to predict for the event?
I think in a completely roundabout and useless way, they're going to show off the console. They're not going to show you a full-blown bright image of what it's going to look like, but they'll show off the console. They might show a game or two, but it's not going to be games that you want. It's going to be games that you already know exist that are getting ported over to PS5. They're probably going to have some overly wanky musical interlude Like the guy who played, fair enough, he played it very well. They played the Japanese flute, played it very well. But at the same time, I am showing up to E3 online to hear about games and game-related news. I don't need someone spending 10 minutes playing, admittedly very well, music. I just want to hear about games. Like, get to the games. It was just a bit too much for me. And when they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, and they had the 20-minute long orchestral opening to it, where they played all the different Final Fantasy VII orchestral songs. I kept typing in the chat. I think it was on YouTube, just typing "Get on with it, get on with it." This is stupid. Get on with it. It's too damn much.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing this because I can't wait to see what comes out of this. Because going tit for tat with these console companies, it's a lot interesting. I'll have to see what they bring to the table. So it's glad to see that we get the first rounds of the next generation of the console wars. And it's weird though, because it didn't hit me that it should have been E3 like this week, just until maybe a couple of days ago. And I was, oh shit, we're missing out on E3. Like, that's how long the coronavirus lockdown has gone on.
That's my headphones cut.
You cut out. There was nothing from you if you've said anything.
No, I didn't say anything.
All right.
I thought you were saying something on my headphone.
No, I was just waiting for you.
Yeah, but I don't think Sony are going to show much. That's just my personal opinion. I think they're going to go in. They're going to take a dig at Microsoft, as they usually do, saying we have these games. Microsoft doesn't have that. They're going to. Ultimately, I think they're going to show nothing.
But I think if Microsoft have revealed one game, you can't take Microsoft, the stage and say we have all these games without revealing some of it.
Yeah.
I think we get a Last of Us preview, and then the announcement that it will also be, I guess, forward compatible. With the next generation.
There's going to be a version coming to PS5.
Yeah. But I don't think they'd do that, because then you'd say you're basically just hampering the sales of the PS4 version for everyone who's going to buy a PS5.
But then again, Last of Us Part 2 is that divisive a game. People have already decided if they're going to buy it or not. They're not going to go out of their way to pick it up now, just because it's on PS5 conference.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you'd want to sell it as a PS4 game and then as a PS5 game.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what you mean about that, but I get you that way.
I think they want to try and sell like maybe a more expensive version. Like, we can, if you buy it for 80 quid rather than 60, we can sell it on 2 consoles for you. It's a discount. Aren't you so lucky, gamers?
Just to sound and do what CD Projekt Red are doing and say if you buy Cyberpunk on Xbox One or PS4, you get to play it on PS5 or Xbox Series X.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Which is pretty cool, but it's going to be a shit show in the end of it because there's going to be people that are not happy.
I guess they've worked out. You can't, as a company that has a relationship with both of these developers, you can't turn around and say that without knowing it's going to be okay. You would have your ass handed to you before you walked out the door.
Mm-hmm. It's a slippery slope, but if anyone can take that hit, it'd be CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, let's just hope other companies follow suit, because a lack of forward or backwards compatibility on like between console generations can be a real mood killer in the community.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've seen all this stuff about Sony, but they could turn around and surprise me, and I hope they do, because there are some instances where I hate being right and where I'm being unfortunately negative about something as one of those such examples.
Yeah. You don't want to be right or all the time, especially when you're kind of being like not a dick about it, but
yeah, like slightly pessimistic.
Yeah, when you're being a real if you're being really downward about a certain issue, you kind of don't want to be a complete dick about some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's time for a showstopper.
Yeah, I think it is that time.
It is that
almost 4 hours.
Yeah, we're getting late. So. Also, these are quite politically divisive times. Right now, it's kind of up in the air as to how people feel, how people actually talk about how, their politics and all that. And I found an interesting article about the drummer of the great and legendary band System of a Down. John Domain was saying he was actually quite happy with how Trump has handled the protests and the aftermath of the George Floyd situation. To which the community response was, "You fucking what, mate?"
Naturally.
And then I was like, well, that's possibly the stupidest thing I could ever see about a musician in politics. And then last night, there was an unfortunate gentleman by the name of Scott Costenda, who, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I have the capacity to verify if he's real or not, if it's a real person, or if this is some weird kind of trolling, because if it is, it's a masterpiece. Costendo sent a tweet to a musician. He said, "I used to be a fan of your political opinion until your political opinions came out. Music is my sanctuary, and the last thing I want to hear is political BS when I'm listening to music. As far as I'm concerned, you and Pink are completely done. Keep running your mouth and ruining your fan base. Thumbs up emoji." He sent that to Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine. You fucking what, mate? I honestly have been thinking about it. This happened, this came up on like news articles this morning, and I was stunned, to say the least, given that Rage Against the Machine might be the most political band I've ever heard, and that already includes System of a Down, Rise Against, and a bunch of other very radical bands at the moment.
Yeah. I actually seen a pretty good comment on that, because I think I know the story you're referring to. It's like, people on a lot of people are saying that they didn't know Rage Against the Machine or a political band. What do you think the machine in which they were raging against was? Their parents?
See,
school?
The joke I heard was, what machine do you think they were raging against? The fucking lawnmowers. I was like, damn good tweet. The obvious, like, the dunking that has happened. I mean, we're doing it as well. But the dunking that has happened on this poor motherfucker for apparently never actually listening to a Rage Against the Machine song has been tremendous. I was a big fan of the joke that when they heard "fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," was apparently directed to everyone's mother rather than corporate systems, political identities, and stuff like that, or authoritarian rule. But apparently there are a not small subset of people who didn't realise that Rage Against the Machine was raging against authoritarian governments, and even in the kind of smaller scale sense that some people feel certain modern Western governments act. They have been. I mean,
I'm going to stop you there for a second. What did these people think? The lyrics, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Those who died are justified for waving the flag in their own chosen way." What did you think that meant? What the fuck did you think that meant?
I really worry this is because it was the same thing that came up in the thing with John Domain was have certain people just not been listening to the lyrical content of certain songs. Like Serj Tankian is a very outspoken critic of the West. Despite being repatriated Armenian to America, he is very he's very critical of the government there, as is almost every member of the system. And then how do you miss all of that to miss how your bandmates really feel about authoritarian governments? And then how do you then miss Rage Against the Machine, just everything they said? And I admit I have often just ignored lyrical content in exchange for just enjoying the music, the backing track, in a sense, because I'm drawn more towards that than lyrical content in certain bands and stuff like that. But I don't think I'd miss this one. I can't see myself misinterpreting anything from Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah,
as being anything less than anti-corporate, I guess.
It's a difficult one to say because have people just not been listening? You can't say you can't listen to a Rage Against the Machine song and just say those guys just really hate computers. That's the machine in which they're raging against, not capitalism and fascism and all that stuff. It boggles the mind. That is indeed a showstopper because I can't think.
Yeah, and I this guy can't be real. I'm sorry. I refuse to believe that there's a real human being like that out there in the world, just kind of like, yeah, Rage Against the Machine, they're just nice guys. Get a bit angry from
They're just a
sometimes.
bunch of nice gentlemen.
They just have disagreements with their parents. There's nothing deeper there, nothing bigger. Fuck you, you can't do what you tell me.
It was like when someone was. I was talking to someone. This was a couple of years ago. We were talking about. This is going to be a weird segue, but just stay with me. But we were talking about Avatar: Legend of Korra, which season three's villain of that. Or season three's villain was a character called Zahir, who gets. He's a master criminal who gains the ability to airbend,
Right.
and he's voiced by Henry Rollins.
Right. Okay.
Of Black Flag, fucking great villain. And we were talking about Black Flag, and they're like, Henry Rollins used to do such good music that didn't really have a message to it, and I was like, it just kind of stopped me in my tracks. I was like, excuse me, did you listen to a single Black Flag song?
You
They're
know
very
they're
anti-establishment.
the punk band. Like there's a certain generation for him. It goes like Sex Pistols, Black Flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unreal. Anyway,
It's weird. It's strange.
when you're listening to music, I suggest actually listening to the music. And actually, you know what? As a training exercise, run the Jules 4. If you can figure out roughly Killer Mike and LP's political stances, you might be in with a shot. I'll give you. We'll leave it with that.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
I'm not gonna lie. I can't think of anything to say. I'm genuinely. My show has been stopped. How could no? Right, I've been Dom Anderson.
I've been Colin Graham. We've been talking Gibberfish. Thank you very much.
Thank you.